Leche. 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 Get 'em, Jimmy, where low shack at? The bottle's getting empty up the Kraken. We stacking chips, all of it's what I want. Plus money winners, that's what I'm on. You can say I'm gone. I prefer elevated pub sports radio. Time to get educated, get produced. Leave the juice, letting loose with so much abuse that the bookies wanna call a truce. They getting slaughtered. Can't forget Jeff and low baggers in the chat. That's a lethal weapon 'cause we be pubbing.
Cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers. Happy Wednesday, November 15th to all of you. Thank you for watching Betting with the Bag right here on Pub Sports Radio. You know, the news about Deshaun Watson being done for the year is just wild, wild stuff. The never-ending roller coaster ride of capping is just it. If you don't love it, you obviously can't do it every day because it's wild. I'd been so consistent in the NFL, went 3-1 in the CFL, 3-2 in college football, 3-1 of my best bets. I just added Penn State late like an ass clown, and then get crushed in NFL. And then Sunday night, don't cash same game parlay, cash 2 live bets though, get some momentum into Monday, and then have that monster clearing a K live stream on Monday. I don't get back everything, almost very, very close. Like literally, like just we're talking like I was within like $70 of getting everything back from going 3-8 at $250 a pop. And I leave so inspired and so excited. And so I just love this. I love what we do so much. I love the opportunity to be here with you guys. I'm really excited about everything. Cappers contest tomorrow. We're 28-20-2, 8 games over 500 at this point in the year. If we can get hot, we can be a problem. And in the Survivor contest at Pub Sports Radio, there's only 4 of us left. Pete and I are 2 of them. Drug Monkey RX always in the part of the battle. And then Tim Crowley, a friend of our guy Troy Torrance's. So there's 4 of us left for 3.6K American. So I'm just pumped up, just thankful to be here with you guys and pumped up. Great to see all you guys in the chat. We have a great show. We have NHL, 4 games in NHL. Not an easy card. I did move on 1 spot. Then we move into college football. Of course, we'll talk about the MACtion this evening. And then we'll have best bets. And it's our first college football best bets with Dave Rogers. Picks from Dave will be with us. Then he's got 3 spots here in the college basketball card that he has bet. He went 2-1. Now, he personally went 3-0. It's just, you give out the lines that are available right now for you to bet at this moment. And that cost him a victory, but still 2-1. And then Mikey M followed that up by going 4-0 the following day. So a lot of good is happening here. There's a lot of good happening here in the chat. Justin McElvey in the house. He's got Magic plus 110. We have Dutch Boy Fresh joining us. Also, all records are updated. Every record is updated. So, every guest, all my sports, everything is updated. So we're back to where we need to be because we talk about how important transparency and honesty and all of that is. And it really is important. Really, really is important. And also, these are just 1 unit. Every play that every person makes is a 1 unit spot. And that's what the records will indicate. But it's great to see all you guys. Justin McElvey, Stacks play of the day is the Orlando Magic. And that 99-97 record is better than it looks because of the average line on Stacks has got to be, what would you say, plus 116, plus 118. Let's lock this in for NBA. Orlando Magic plus 110 in Chirac. Copy and paste that right there. Billy Frieder says, my NHL looks are simple today, betting all 4 dogs on the first period money line at plus money. Andrew G went 2-0, hit Santa Clara plus 10.5, won outright, and Timby Wolves money line. Glad to be here today. Glad to have you here. Jay Smooth in the house. What up, Jay Smooth? Man, speaking of Jay Smooth, we got a bunch of stuff coming up. Of course, Pubapalooza in March. Can't wait. Run with Jay Smooth. But we also have our poker tournament. Now I'm waiting for the heads up that it's up. So I'm still waiting for it. I emailed them today. I need to know when it's up so we can really promote it. But poker tournament not this Friday, a week Friday, Thanksgiving Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And then we're going to have the triple header on Thursday, triple header of NFL action. So get yourself a giant bottle of booze for that one. So we got a lot of stuff coming up. I'm very, very excited. Series business in the house. Troy Torrance says the pain is real. Browns backers in peril. Yeah, it's just shocking. Just shock them. Londo in the house, ready to get to work there. Slats, he says, third winning night in a row in NHL. Let's keep it rolling. Canucks, Isles, 9-1 to the over, but still capping NHL. I was dreaming of a 6.5 to try and go underneath it, but I didn't. It's going to be a fun game. Horvat back in Vancouver. We don't miss him. Michael Johnson in the house. There's Perky Sanderson ready to get to work. Our guy, Perky. Von Polo. Here we go. And Slats says, you're the one person I thought of when I saw the Watson news. Yes, I thought of you right away as well, Troy. And there is our guy Nuke Orger says, good morning, guys. A week from now, I'm on a plane heading for Sin City. I love it. Nuke. Ronnie and Bergia. Mikey M says, time to get to work. Mikey M. Speaking of Mikey M, so he went 4-0 as I've got all of stats ready for each and every capper. It's nice putting in your 4-0 board. Sweepage, Mikey. There's Mr. Vape, Brian Watson. Great to see all of you guys. J Dub said, did anyone expect Watson to play for the rest of the season? Well, I expected him to play on Sunday. Vipe Major. All I was waiting for was the MRI on the ankle. That's it. I was like, okay, we'll move on this as soon as we get the MRI. Ugh. Speaking of which, what has happened to let's see what's happened to that game market-wise. Because, I still think the Browns are live, but let's see what's the move here. The move was 2 points. I imagine there'll be more than that. So we'll just wait. So be patient and then get the Browns at a good price. There's Nut Flush Allen in the house. 3-0 day yesterday. Mr. Vape, like in Barcelona, -4.5 in EuroLeague basketball, starts at 2:30 p.m. Eastern. And Perky on Princeton -4. That's his NCAA basketball play of the day. Copy and paste that so we can discuss it here. Perky in business. What a great group. Polo this, polo that, ready to get to work. Rocco Rogers, Alec Dirks looking at Luka, 45+ points, rebounds, assists, and Mavs. A money line for Alec Dirks. Copy and paste that so we can discuss that with our NBA action. Get that locked in there. JPZ also liking Barcelona too. Said should get over 163, but he's sure the total is moved. Johnny Guns ready to get to work. Rocco Rogers, what a great group. Kong's Clips says, how do I not take Washington in Survivor this week? Yeah, I mean, I get it. I can't take Washington. I used them in week 1, and I was fortunate to get that. That was week 1 against Arizona, or we wouldn't even be here with a chance for a 3.6 American Yankee Franks on the way. There's Kelly McInnes in the house. Nutflush Allen says expecting Watson to play Sunday was like expecting Caden to clean his room on his own. There we go. Bo Hanny ready to get to work. Great to see all of you guys. Thank you for being here. Let's get to work. In NFL, I only moved on 2 bets last night. Usually I move on a lot more. I only moved on 2 bets. I took the Dolphins -12 at -110. And what is that now? Because I saw Pinnacle move that 13 to a pick'em. So let's see, did 365 move it? I would love it if this ended up at 14. 12.5 moved a half point since I bet it. And then I took the under 41.5 in Tampa Bay, San Francisco. Under 41.5. Now, I want the Browns at a cheaper number, and I expect to move on them, but I'm going to wait. I'm interested in the Panthers plus 10.5. That's Ron Crawford's NFL spreadsheet play of the day. I'm interested in the Bills -7 if Micah Hyde returns. Even Daquan. If we get Daquan Jones, I'll do it as well. The Rams, I'm interested in. And then I want the Broncos and the under. But now I think Justin Jefferson. I did a deep dive on Jefferson yesterday. I did actually yesterday, but I did again last night. I expect Jefferson to be announced in and both those lines to get sweeter for me. So that's what I expect. There's Razor Sharp picks in the house. Great to see you. Razor 2-0 sweep yesterday. Rodney Barton ready to get to work. Big Scott 5-10 on Richmond +5 and the Knicks money line. Well, good news for all of us. Richmond is one of the games that Dave Rogers has moved on. So we will be discussing that. I can give you guys a little heads up of what games we are discussing. Let me move this over and get Big Scott's action in here. So Richmond Spiders, Boston College, St. Peter's Peacocks, and Fairleigh Dickinson Knights, and the Georgetown Hoyos and Rutgers Scarlet Knights. In college football, the best bets, we got some great games. For our guy, Dave, he's got the Utes and Wildcats. So he's got Utah, Arizona, and he's got Illinois, Iowa. Those are his 2 games. My 2 games are Boise State, Utah State, and Washington Huskies, Oregon State. Ronnie and Bergie with his action. Let me copy and paste that. And then let's get right to work. We got a lot of work to do here. And it's just us 2 for the next 18 minutes, us 2. It's just me, I should say. There is an enormous lack of sleep finishing the Tuesday night NFL show rolling into Wednesday. But I feel great and I'm pumped up. So, I don't care about the lack of sleep, but there's an enormous lack of sleep. But I'm pumped up. A lot of coffee in me. Let's get to work here. And yes, no tender, that is right. All right, let's go. Let's go. So we got off to an okay start in NHL. It slipped. We've gone over that. So my quantities being low, I'm trying to stay away from totals. And there's the record right there. It's not good. 15 and 21, 41.7%, down 3.26 units. Very attainable to get out of that. And let's do it right now. We start at 7:30 p.m. Eastern with the Philadelphia Flyers 7-7-1, 4-3-1 on the road. The Carolina Hurricanes 9-6-0, undefeated at home. We're at PNC Arena in Raleigh, North Carolina. Now, I do not, and it's good to have our guy Billy Friedrich here, because how in the world could they possibly not put Kochekov back in net here? Antti Ranta is listed, but it's got to be Kochekov, doesn't it? Carter Hart going up against Kochekov, but I want that to be clear with everybody here. And I didn't look again this morning. That was from last night. Let's get into the line history here for this one. Over to NHL. And let's get after it. From a money line standpoint, I was shocked to see the size of the dog in Philadelphia. I didn't expect it to be this big. I thought that Carolina -1 would be in the cards. It's not. It opened up at -262. It's now -237. So we've had a very heavy move towards the Flyers, and it's just too expensive in every way, shape, or form. From a total standpoint, the under 6 has moved 2 cents. Or sorry, the over 6 has moved 2 cents. I don't really agree with that. If we can get a confident Kochekov, then I would be heavy to believe in the under, because Philadelphia's power play 7.7%. And I would like to go against it. There's my guy Swig bets in the house. And Kelly says it says Kochekov expected to start. That's what I want to see here. Nupflashan says, can you see if you can get a clip from yesterday with Jose sharing his feelings on who he wants to win Survivor? That concerns me, that he would not cheer for his stepfathers, Peter Loshak and Jimmy the Bag. But, that's okay. If he's filled with anger towards his successful stepfathers, then that's part of life, That's part of the trials and tribulations of a stepfather, banging your mom. Let's go here to, we don't care really about the cash flow, so let's just roll into this. So after opening the road trip with that 2-1 loss at lowly San Jose, Flyers defeated the Ducks on Friday. The market was indicating that was clearly the spot. And then they followed that up by beating the Kings on Saturday 4-2. Then they head home, right? They head home, even though they continue the road trip, they head home. And look what's going on with them. How could they be 7-7-1? First round pick, Travis Sanheim. This was a 2014 first round pick. He's been in the Flyers organization the whole time, waiting for him to show out. 14th overall pick back in 2014. He's done just that. He's taken this long awaited step to be the next number 1, and he's playing 25 minutes and 53 seconds a game, leading the Flyers in scoring as well. I mean, we're just seeing a huge uptick from defenseman scoring, 14 points in 13 games. What else has changed for the Flyers? Well, Cam Atkinson healthy this year, helping the power play. Remember, when they brought over Cam Atkinson and Ryan Ellis, they thought, we got our power play set. Now, Ryan Ellis looks like he'll never play another game in the NHL, sadly. But Cam Atkinson, who was hurt most of last year, has 8 goals in 15 games. He's a sniper. Rasmus Ristolainen and Mark Stahl remain out for the Flyers. The Hurricanes have also been off since Saturday, so both teams are well rested. They won their third and 4 games, 4-0 at Tampa. Kochetkov got his 5th career shutout. Jesper Kotkaniemi has taken that next step. We've been waiting for it. 6 goals, 7 assists, 13 points in 15 games played. And Justin McAvee says he was disappointed in Jose. It's okay. It's okay. Dude, it's okay. Don't worry. He can fire at us, man. It's all good. Look, it's all good. Young men holding a lot of anger when they don't succeed. So it's all good. But you have piqued my interest. So here we go. I would now, are the Hurricanes now getting towards a decent number for the -1 line? This is a spot where I would like to fade the Flyers. I do not believe in them as a hockey team, but they have a lot of toughness and they're stronger down the middle, especially compared to last season. If you look, Couturier back in action. Alec Dirk says, my square for liking a Hurricanes Avalanche parlay at -111. New York City Hurricanes 4-0-0 at home, but -252. I don't think so. Thank Kelly. With all this said and done, Justin said it's not all good. That was some disclosed shit. Look, don't worry about it. He can. It's all good. Don't worry. This is all news to me, but don't worry. Flyers, Hurricanes at PNC Park. I don't see anything that's or PNC Arena. I don't really see anything that's very appealing here. I do like unders. Want to bet unders. Like that Kochetkov is in against Carter Hart. Could I get a nice plus money spot on the under 6? If I could, I would expect that to be, appealing. Why don't we just take a quick look? The Flyers on the road will play towards unders, and the Hurricanes at home should as well. And I know the unders have not been hitting. But here, if you look at the last home game for the Hurricanes, it was 3-2 overtime against Buffalo, a high-scoring team, which will be less so, now with the injuries that have set in for them. But the home game before that, 3. So they played 3 straight unders at home. 3 straight unders at home. This is going to be an under team. And if Kochetkov is going to play well, then I don't see why we wouldn't move on that. They're going to play towards unders. And then let's look at the Flyers on the road. This will be another, should be a perfect example here. The Flyers on the road, you would expect them to play the unders all season long. You have 2 quality goaltenders. Obviously, the Anaheim game was 6-3. So the Buffalo game was a push. The Kings game was probably a push as well. The San Jose game went under. Vegas went under. Dallas was over. And then they started the year with those 2 overs. I think at plus money, I would be, wow. And look at that. Browns announced that a DTR will start. Wow. That one dude in the house. Nice to see you. So I guess the more we talk about it, and Swiggy Bet says, how do we read Carter's first game back? That is also a important part of all this that needs to be discussed. So, that does, but he was just sick. But God, we haven't seen him in 14 days. That is too long. You're right. That's an important point. All right. I'm going to move past this here. Slate said Husso unavailable for this week's games, going back home for the birth of his daughter. And Mike M saying Carter ate some bad fish, had food poisoning, was ready to go. I think that's right. I think that he hasn't played since the first round. I think that the idea of expecting Carter to play well here after being off for 14 days is tricky. And I'm comfortable not moving on it. But I certainly lean towards the under. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. And I did pull the trigger. 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Seattle Kraken 5-8-3 on the road. Edmonton is 491 4-9-1, 2-4-1 at home. We're at Rogers Place in Edmonton, Alberta. Philip Grubauer and Stuart Skinner. Grubauer 3-6-0, 3.37 goals against average, 891 save percentage. He's not been good. He's not been good in his entire career in a Kraken uniform. Stuart Skinner 3-5-1, 3.27 goals against average, 876 save percentage. I'm sure he's buoyed by the fact that Soupy Dumps was sent to the minors and he was given the reins of the hockey team. Seattle's power play is at 25.5%, penalty killing 71.4%. Edmonton's power play is at 26.5%, penalty killing at 71.7%. I'm sure you can imagine that this penalty killing is going to stay around that number, but this Edmonton power play will get up over 30% comfortably very soon here. And Seattle just doesn't look good. They just don't look good. And Edmonton is a bargain now. This total is at 6.5, juice to the over, minus 119 right now. It did touch 7 for a minute. It's gone 3 cents to the over. But from a money line, I believe that Edmonton is going to be a bargain for a little while. Minus 180. Yeah, the line hasn't moved on them. That's fine. I just think that they're a team that must win now. We know what happens when a new coach gets in there. And I just think that they play. And McDavid has not erupted. This team is sort of being hamstrung. And I think that they take over here. Now, do you want to back? Look how bad Colorado was playing. And Colorado shanked Seattle. That was a 5-1 home loss in Seattle. I mean, that was bad. Seattle's been outscored 9-2 in these two setbacks. And the question is, why would they bounce back at this point? Matty Beniers looks terrible. He's a minus 15 in 16 games. He scored 1 goal this year. He's obviously in his head. Jordan Eberle is day-to-day with a lower body injury. If he comes back, that will help. Burakovsky's out until December. And you have this Chris Knobloch coaching, and he has his debut, and they step up, and they fight hard. And why wouldn't they just do it again? Major Tom laughing at the Oilers minus 182. I think this is a discount. I think this is a great price. So Andrew G says something's wrong with our Kraken. They're struggling. Andrew G, the market gave us all that information. My plan was to be on all summer. I'd planned to back them. And then their team total for points comes out at 92.5. To make the playoffs is minus 125 when they were 1 goal away from the conference final. The market had indicated that they played way above their heads last season. And we know what happens when a player plays way above their head. Major Tom says the Oilers still suck. Their record indicates that they are not a good hockey team, Major Tom. But I think they're going to put money into my bankroll this evening. And I moved on them on the minus 1 line. I got it at minus 119. I think that's an incredibly legit price for the Oilers at home. I imagine that in 2 or 3 weeks, you'll never see a money line under minus 200 unless they're playing the elite in the Western and Eastern conferences, and the Kraken certainly aren't them. So, Nutflush says Oilers team total over will make his card. Kelly McInnes looking at the minus 1.5, and Slatsy says so for now. Oilers are buying into Knobloch. They gave him the puck after the win, presented him with a video from his wife from their home in Hartford. Yeah, this is just this. We're getting a discount on a team that you can believe they suck. You can do whatever you want with them. But if you look at their expected goals and all of their analytics, they're a good hockey team. So I think this is a discount. I took them on the minus 1 line with confidence. Let's move on. Next up for us is 9 p.m. Eastern. The Anaheim Ducks 9-6-0, 5-2-0 on the road at the Colorado Avalanche 9-5-0, 4-2-0 at home. We're at Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. Major Tom has futures on the Oilers. Look, I've got future just on the Cup. Thank God I didn't do anything else. And honestly, now they're at the right number to double dip. I just love the Kings so much. I don't want to, but they're right at the right number, 16-1. It's too bad. They were at 25-1 2 games ago. So you probably don't want to take them at 16-1. And I don't. I don't think that they have the makeup to, at this point. Now they could make changes come deadline time, but all right, so let's roll. So we have Lucas Dostal going up against Alexander Georgiev here for the Avalanche. Dostal has been good this year. He started to come back a little bit from the heights that he was on. He looked great to start the year. Georgiev has been, not very good, but He was great last year. We expect more from him. Then we have Anaheim, 21.2% power play, 80.9% penalty killing. They've been just great this year, and I love seeing it. Love seeing Mason McTavish step up the way he has. Colorado, 18.2% power play, 85.7% penalty killing. Swiggy is sprinkling on the Ducks -1.5 at +425. Slide says Ducks on the back-to-back after a big win in 1-9 last 10 versus the Avalanche. Let's take a look at the line history here for this one. We have Colorado at -306. I mean, that's just a ludicrous price. It's a ludicrous price. But the market's even moving in their direction. Opened up -294, now -306. So we've had a 12-cent move towards the Avalanche. I mean, that's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. This total is at 6.5. Opened up -106 to the under, now -107 to the under. Ducks on the second half back-to-back after winning 3-2 at the Predators last night. The Ducks were outshot 31-20 in the win. And I want to talk about Mason McTavish as much as possible. I'm a huge fan. I do believe that if we were playing in the Olympics at the end of the season, that he would be a center on that hockey team at 20. 7 goals, 9 assists, 16 points in 15 games played. They're dealing with injuries to Trevor Zegras and Isaac Lundstrom. Lundstrom's going to be out for a long time. Zegras, we're not sure how he's close to returning. What a disappointment he's been this year. 1 goal, 1 assist in 12 games played. Now you see why now I know he was a 7th overall pick. Was it 7th or 9th? But he had the talent to be a top 3 pick. But there was always some concerns with up here. And, he's got no confidence right now. Occupancy says under or pass. Sky Dragon says Ducks money line. At this price, I mean, I don't know how you could look at anything else than the Ducks money line. Brock McGinn and Jamie Drysdale are also hurt at this point. The Avs snapped out of their funk with a 5-1 win at Seattle on Monday. They'd lost 5 of 7. They'd been outscored 31-15 over those games. Josh Manson and Samuel Girard, 2 defensemen, are day-to-day, as well as center Andrew Cogliano. It's too bad what happened to Lehkonen. A scary hit from Oleksiak. But at this point, I don't want this is clearly, I get it why Dennis would move on the Ducks. I mean, if you're playing with a high volume, then you have an advantage here. The Ducks shouldn't be at this price point. They've won 5 of 7 games on the road. Colorado still doesn't look like themselves, even though they went into Seattle and beat them. But in saying all that, I don't want either team here. There's my guy Cheshire Cat in the house. North End says Pond Hockey legend Zegras. And North End says little baby shoulders, toddler shoulders, what we call them. I don't. Andrew G says Ducks first period, then the legs fall off. That's legit too. I'm not interested here. There's Nasty Nate in the house. Let's move on to the final spot on the board. 10 p.m. Eastern. New York Islanders 5-6-3, 2-3-0 on the road. The Vancouver Canucks 11-3-1, 5-1 at home. Rogers Arena, Vancouver, BC. This is the Stanley Cup matchup, 1982. The Canucks came out of nowhere to get all the way to the Stanley Cup final, their first Stanley Cup final, only to be swept by these New York Islanders who were in their period of greatness when they won 4 straight Stanley Cups behind the best goals per game player in the history of our sport, Mike Bossy. And of course, Trottier, Potvin. And they were a hell of a hockey team. And they're no longer that team. And the Canucks are 11-3-1, 5-1 at home with a ton of hope. Sorokin versus Demko. Sorokin is getting soundly outplayed by Varlamov, and that could be a concern for him and should be a concern for him. The Islanders coming off their 5th straight loss, 4-1 at Edmonton on Monday night. The Nucks bounced back from their 5-2 loss at the Leafs by defeating Montreal 5-2 to finish their 3-game Eastern road trip 2-1. Let's bring in the line history here for this one. Over here and get into the line history. First off, from a total perspective, this is at 6.5 at Pinnacle. If this goes to 6.5 at other books, I'll take the under. It's not even close to a 6.5 here at Bet365. I mean, I could send it in at Pinnacle. I would prefer to do it here. If it goes to a 6.5, do we at some point have a chance to take the first period under 2? That would be nice. At this point, it's like ridiculously expensive. But the Islanders know exactly how they have to play the Canucks. Exactly. And they're going to try their hardest because of Horvat. And then also you have Barzal. I mean, there's a Vancouver boy, Porco Quitlam kid. The Islanders have lost 4 in a row, and they're going to give you every ounce of effort tonight. Does that mean you want them first period? I have interest in them first period. But it definitely means that I want the under 6.5. Now, the under 6.5 in the Canadiens Canucks game was the right bet. I mean, how many goals were scored there in the last 5 minutes of the game? This has got the Canucks at minus 151. Why would they be at minus 151 against a team that's lost 4 straight games? So, Pedersen leads the league in points right now. Behind him is Quinn Hughes. He's a plus 18. 23 points on the season, plus 18 in 15 games. Now, the Canucks did lose Carson Soucy, who's been very, very good. Bankroll Spence's should be minus 200. Slatsy laughed and said, "Will I be cheering for Horvat tonight?" No, you know what I think of Horvat. I think that he is not even close to worth the money, but he's been pretty good this year. He has been pretty good. So let's get this in here. I would, if I had a chance, to bet the under 6.5, and now that Pinnacle's offering it, I would like all the other books to follow suit here. Let's just see what it costs on Pinnacle. The under 6.5 minus 117. That's cheap. That's cheap. All the other books will follow suit, but that is cheap. The Islanders are going to play their very best. The problem is that you want to risk reward, taking the Islanders first period. This game. Now, look, I know all the trends, and Slatsy's talked about them. All the trends have this going over, when these two teams play. But this is so different. And the trends bring in a lot of cash for Slatsy and Mikey M and all of, I respect those that are following them. But when has Vancouver been the toast of the NHL? When have they been a juggernaut here? When do the Islanders come in losing 4 straight with their number one line center having played his whole career with the Canucks, where their number one sniper is from Vancouver? I mean, these things don't happen, and they haven't happened in this rivalry. And that's why this line's at minus 150 when it should be at minus 200. So, yes, that is Margaret. Of course, that is Kelly McInnes. That's Margaret Thatcher Demko right there. And thank you, Jose, for popping that up. Ronnie and Bergia taking Vancouver in regulation. Andrew G saying Nukes are smelling themselves right now, feeling good. I get all. I want the under 6.5, and then I wonder if I just wish there was a better risk reward here for the Islanders. Nate Dogg on the other side of Vancouver money line, and I get it. If you look at this now, whenever a line is 40 to 50 cents worse than what it should be, or better, depending on how you look at it. I mean, I have a red flag. Nate Dogg doesn't need a red flag. And if you're following the trends, I would get completely why you'd be on the over. But this is, maybe the best way of handling this then is, let's go over to Pinnacle instead of Bet365, because maybe the best way of handling this would be the Canucks team total under. But that 3.5's at minus 119. I mean, how many goals have the Islanders been scoring? DraftKings under is minus 140. I think that the people are going to hammer the over 6.5. So all right. There we go. Trans Canada saying let's honorable praise for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm on there over. Slatsy, much love to you, my friend. Great capping with you. At this point, I'm on the Oilers minus 1. And I would like to move on that under 6.5, and I plan to in Islanders Vancouver. I think that Sorokin knows that Varlamov's knocking on the door to be the starting goaltender. Demko thus far is in line to win a Vezina, and the Islanders want this game more than any game they played all season long. What does that equate to? You can't have penalties, especially with the Islanders penalty killing at 73.9%. We talked about Vancouver power play being top 3 this year. We'll see how it all bangs out, but that's my plan. I've already moved on Edmonton minus 1 at minus 119, and I'm very interested in the under 6.5 in Islanders Canucks. Let's move on. Let's bring on our next guest. He made his Betting with the Bag debut last week, went 2-1 in college basketball. Now his bets went 3-0. He gave out action where the line was available at the time of the show, and that cost him one victory for records, but he went 3-0. And he's now making his college football debut with us. A great college football capper. Of course, he has the 14-hour live stream on Saturdays. Please welcome star of the Picks from Dave YouTube channel, Mr. Dave Rogers, to the show. Dave, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jimmy, Ramon. I'm ready.
It is great to see you, my friend. We have 2 games here for MACtion, Wednesday night MACtion, and then we get into our best bet segment, and then we will rock our college basketball, the 3 games that you are moving on. So let's get into college football right now, and the 30-33 down 5.88 units is not good. But I told you when I stopped betting totals that I was going to get to the black. In my last 18 sides that I've given out here on the show, I'm 14-4, plus 9.57 units. My last 2 weeks of best bets, I'm 6-2. My last 3 best bet videos with Cab on Thursday, I'm 6-0, 2-0 each one of them. And I'm going to get to the black. But I'm not there right now, and the record is not where I want it to be, 30-33. It is what it is. But these best bets and cutting out all totals and focusing on these sides has been working. I have 2 best bets today, and we move forward. Welcome, Dave. It is great to see you. Let's get right to work. We start 7 p.m. Eastern. Central Michigan. Central Michigan is first up. Jose. Central Michigan Chippewas 5-5, 3-3 in the MAC at the Ohio Bobcats 7-3, 4-2 in the MAC. We're at Peden Stadium in Athens, Ohio. 52 Fahrenheit clear, 3 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. And over here we go. Line history wise, we have, take a second here. We have Ohio as a big favorite, as they should be, regardless of the fact that the Chips have dominated this season series, or this not season series, but the lifetime series. Ohio opening up at -8.5. They're now at -10.5. For a team that devoid of offense, it's hard to imagine being comfortable to take them at this number. This total is at 47.5, so they do think that points will be scored in this one. It opened up at 46, so we've gone up 1.5. So we have a 2-point move to the Bobcats and a 1.5 move towards the over. Let's get over to the cash flow here and see what they're telling us. On the spread here, we have 73% of the cash. 65% of the cash. 65% of the tickets and 42% of cash on Ohio. So Central Michigan has, 35% of tickets, 58% of cash. So why then, if the market had any respect for that action, would it move the 2 points towards the Bobcats? The total with 7,000 tickets in is straight 50-50 on both the tickets and the cash, but yet it's gone up 1.5. That one dude says Central Michigan quarterback's been playing really good. Plus these 2 teams have a history of playing close games. Andrew G says, just seems like too many points. Well, let's talk it out and then hand it over to Dave Rogers. Chips coming off a 38-28 loss at Western Michigan's 3.5-point dogs. Jim McElwain's squad will have a tough time becoming bowl eligible this year. They need a win here or next week against Toledo. So unlikely to be in a bowl game. Central Michigan with running back Marion Lukes can roll. We know that they run the ball. Jace Bauer, their quarterback, is better on the ground than he is with his arm. And the Chips have won the last 6 meetings between these teams. They hold a 27-5-2 all-time advantage against the Bobcats. Ohio comes in off a 2010 victory at Buffalo as 9.5-point favorites. Albin's done a great job here. Last year, they were very good, 10-4, won in the Arizona Bowl. They're scoring just 21.6 points per game. Imagine a team scoring 21.6 points per game. That's a 10.5-point favorite. But it's their defense that's been so good. And in these 10 games they played thus far, 8-2 to the under. They're allowing an average of 15.1 points per game. And only 2 opponents all year have scored over 20 against these Bobcats. Take it away for us here, Dave. MACtion on a Wednesday, Chips and Bobcats.
Yeah, to be completely honest with the 2 games, I really like the other game. This game is a hard pass for me, but I guess if we're leading people, if they do have some interest in this game, there's no way. And the number to me is right. I index my own numbers, but there's no way, even with the number, that I'm laying that many points with Ohio. They're 1-3 ATS at home. And I put a lot of parts of both these teams sort of in the same area. So I know Ohio should be the better team. They should win. I'm not going to be betting this, but with that ATS record at home and knowing that the MAC can get kind of weird at the end of the season, the only lean I would have would be to take the points with Central Michigan.
And are you surprised that this has gone up to 47.5? I mean, is it the issue is the Chips defense?
It must be. I mean, obviously they're giving up more points than they're scoring, which is a sign of a bad team anyway. But the other thing too is in the MAC, for both college basketball and college football, MACtion action. There's a lot of action. That's not always necessarily the case. There might be, you could find your way on the under here. It has to do less with the defenses being bad and more to do with offenses that can't score. But Ohio can put up some points. I just don't see them winning this game by double digits. Maybe not even by a touchdown. So, but I'm not that confident in it. I like the other game much better. It's a pass for me. Lean Ohio.
Well, let's move on to that other game. 7 p.m. Eastern, we have the Buffalo Bulls, 3-7, 3-3 in the MAC. At the Miami of Ohio Redhawks, 8-2, 5-1. We're at Yager Stadium in Oxford, Ohio. 53 Fahrenheit, clear, 4 miles per hour. Let's get into the line history here for this one. This total very low, sitting at 39.5. It's opened up at 41.5. It's dropped 2 points down to 39.5. It is juiced to the under. Let's get over to the money line in this one. The spread in this one. The spread is sitting here at 7.5. It's been moving towards Buffalo. This opened up at 9 and is down to 7.5 at Pinnacle. This move happened 41 minutes ago, so it moved 1.5 points. That's a big move at a sharp book. Let's go into the cash flow for this one. 53% of the tickets and 87% of the cash is on the over, yet it's dropped. From a spread perspective, you have 77% of the tickets on Miami, but just 55% of the cash, which again tells you that Buffalo's live to be in this one. Buffalo comes in off their second straight loss, a 2010 setback at home to Ohio as 9.5-point dogs. Their defense has been very good, while their offense at times has been pitiful. Cole Snyder looks awful. He's thrown 2 touchdowns last 5 games, 5 picks. He's been so bad that they're going with 2 quarterbacks now. CJ Ogbonna has been, coming in. They average 190.2 yards per game through the air. Now, their defense has been very good, especially in the MAC. They've held MAC teams to only 17.3 points per game. Miami of Ohio comes in off their second straight win, 19-0 home beatdown of Akron as 17.5-point favorites. They've made their backers a lot of money this year. 8-2 against the spread. They clinched the MAC championship game in Detroit with a win here. But they'll have to do it without Blaine Gabbert. He's done for the year. Avion Smith, the backup, has come in. He's throwing for 176 yards over 2 and a bit of games. But they win with defense and running the ball. Rashad Amos being a bull, man. Last 2 games without Gabbert, 281 yards rushing. The Bulls are very difficult to pass on, and the Redhawks seem incapable of doing damage through the air. The Bulls can be run on, and that plays into the Redhawks' strength. Redhawks average 160.7 yards per game on the ground. The Bulls allow 175.3. But this is a clear move on Buffalo, which is pretty wild. And this just happened again 44 minutes ago. Take it away for us here, Dave. Bulls, Redhawks.
Yeah, strange move. I've watched both these teams. I've been on Buffalo 2 or 3 times this year, and it hasn't turned out well. And really, you did a good job at saying the fact that Miami's strengths are going to be a problem for Buffalo's weaknesses. That's what you look for in a matchup. But the tail of the tape here is Buffalo can't score, especially if they're behind. They struggle. And this 2 quarterback thing that happened this last game was absolutely horrible, especially in the red zone. They're 112th in the country in the red zone. They only score 75% of the time. And that's not going to cut it with this Miami team. 16.8 points given up on defense, 9th best defense in that respect for Miami of Ohio. And it shows in what they've done. They're 8-2 ATS overall. They're 6-0 as a favorite and 3-0 as a home favorite, while Buffalo's 5-5 overall. So you really have a mediocre team at best that's struggling, even though Miami of Ohio doesn't have their quarterback, and a team that's just kind of rolled over their conference. I have this which is strange that the line is dropping. You know that I'm not super high on watching ticket and handle movement, but I'm laying the wood, and I bet it at 9. I might, if it goes down another point, I might bet it again. I think this should be a double-digit game for the Redhawks.
Yeah, that's a big move. Is it sort of explaining that, yes, the Bulls' run defense is bad,
Mm-hmm.
but if they know that the only thing the opposition can do is run the ball, incapable of moving the ball through the air with Avion Smith, that their defense then improves? Because they do have some studs in the secondary that could come down low. Do you think that is somewhat in play here? And what is your lean on this total at 39.5?
The total I'd lean to the over, actually, but here's the deal. I think the best case and only case scenario for the Redhawks is to keep the game close. If they get outside 10 points, 14 points, they don't have the power the offensive power to come back. So that's their only path to victory. And if that's the only way they can win, I really like the Redhawks tonight. Might be my favorite player of the day.
Wow. I wanted to have action, and I expected to. This move at Pinnacle is wild. We can give you Miami -7.5 with no Vic, -103.
That's nutty. What book is that on?
Pinnacle.
Yeah, I can't bet Pinnacle, but if it moves in any of the books that I can bet,
it'll move.
I'll bet again.
Yeah, it'll move. When Pinnacle does something like this, it will move at the other books. It'll take a little bit of time. Redhawks for Dave Rogers. Redhawks here -7.5 at -103. DC Capper also liking the under in this one. Andrew G says Buffalo is very slim margin for error. I kind of like the under too. I don't see where the points are going to be scored here. And what is it about the over that kind of appealed to you, Dave?
I actually think Miami's going to score a bunch of points on the ground. It's going to be one of those like Air Force situations where there's no passing and all running, and they just kind of run it down their throat.
All right. Perky Sanderson, also FC Barcelona with Mr. Vape and Jay Peasy. All right. Well, I guess I'll stay off of it. I'm not going to go heads up with your side, even if the market is indicating that's the right move. And the total at 39.5 seems a little vulnerable. Razor says small reverse line movement towards Buffalo. Not at Pinnacle. It's not small. Pretty big at Penny, but Redhawks -7.5, -103 for Dave. And it is time now to move on to our best bets segment here on Pub Sports Radio. We have Dave Rogers making his best bets debut here. He has picked 2 games, and I have picked 2 games on Saturday. His 2 games start out the card 2:30 and 3:30 p.m. And then I've got 2 night spots that I am attacking. Dave, we are very happy that you've joined our best bet videos. Let's get right to work, and you start with a banger in the Pac-12, 2:30 p.m. Eastern. The number 22 ranked Utah Ute, 7-3, 4-3 in the Pac-12. At the number 17 ranked Arizona Wildcats, 7-3, 5-2 in the Pac-12. We're at Arizona Stadium in Tucson, Arizona. 73 Fahrenheit showers, 8-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history of this one here. Get over to 2:30 action, and here we go. Probably better off looking at the money line in this one. It is a very tightly contested point spread. From a money line standpoint, we have Arizona sitting at -111 at Pinnacle. They opened up at -113. They have not been lower than -106, and they have not been higher than -117. At this point, there's been a 1 cent move at Pinnacle to Utah, a 1 cent move. So very little movement there on the side. Let's see what's going on here with the total. From a total perspective here, we have it sitting at 45, slightly juiced to the over. It opened right there. So we've had almost no movement in this game. We have a 1 cent move to the over, a 1 cent move to Utah. That is pretty wild. Let's see if the cash flow is 50-50 on this one as well. We have, get over here, we have on the total 67% of the tickets and 85% of the cash on the over with no movement. On the spread, we have 63% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on Arizona and no movement. Makes the other sides quite appealing. Utah comes in off its second loss in 3 games, 35-28 at Washington's 9.5-point dogs. They allow 17.8 points per game, but we all see the difference of, the home road dichotomy. Arizona comes in off its 4th straight win, 34-31 at Colorado's 8-point favorites. Jonah Coleman ran wild, 179 yards on 11 carries. He is expected to do that against this tough Utah defense. It won't be easy. Take it away for us here, Dave. Utes, Wildcats, Pac-12 action.
Yeah, I mean, what a game. First of all, it's kind of tale of two teams. Utah, because of the Cam Rising thing, they lost Kincaid. I'd say this year's been sort of disappointing to some extent. But looking at Arizona, perennially one of the worst teams in the Pac-12. Doing what they've done this year, not with much, in my opinion. So shout out to them. This is going to be a good game. I think the number's right, but what I'm looking here is at the total. And my first inclination was the under before diving into it. So I kind of did a razor sharp picks GFG type of deal. Arizona's 2-8 to the under, 2 and 8 to the under. So 2 overs and 8 unders this year. But the problem with that is their totals were inflated. The average total was 59, and this is at 45. And this is a team that scores 30 points a game. So they're up there in the top third with the nation. But 8 of the 10 games that they've played, so the other way, 8-2, went over 45 points. So this number to me is quite low. Then you go to Utah, and we all know Utah, the defensive team, 19 points a game, one of the best defenses in the country. They're 4-6 their last 5 games. Hold on a second, I can't read my own. Okay, they're 4. Okay, so they're 4-6 on the season to the under. So 4 overs and 6 unders, but the past 5 games are 4-1 to the over, and all of the games that went over 45 points. So really what this is telling me, this number is too low. Does it blast over the number? I don't know. Both of these, this game is very, very capable of being 27-24, 28-20, 28-21, somewhere in there. So in my opinion, this number is too low. I think Utah's been scoring. Arizona's been scoring all year. It's just their totals have been almost 60 points a game, which is way. This isn't USC or Washington. So I really like the over here. And, I guess it is a little concerning that the money's coming in on the over and it's not moving, but
All right, let's get you that over here. There are some 44.5s on the board. 44.5 minus 110 at Bet Online. That's the only one with, 44.5 minus 108 at Heritage. There you go. Bookmakers moved it to 45.5. Pinnacle still at 45. So it feels like that's the direction that it's going in, is towards the over. Dave is in over 44.5 minus 108. That's available at Heritage. You can get it with just minus 110 VIG over at Bet Online. Speaking of Bet Online, that's where our poker tournament is. Thanksgiving Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. $50 entry. Rebuys for the first 3 levels. Bet Online. All right, let's roll on to the next ball on the board, and it is Dave's second best bet on the card. 3:30 p.m. Eastern. The Illinois Fighting Illini, 5-5, 3-4 in the Big Ten at number 16th ranked Iowa Hawkeyes, 8-2, 5-2 in the Big Ten. Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, Iowa. 55 Fahrenheit, sunny, 7-mile-per-hour winds. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have the total alarmingly low, as in all Iowa games of late. This opened up at 31.5 and has dropped to 30.5. It is slightly juiced to the under at 30.5. Let's get into the point spread here for this one. Iowa playing very good football right now. The spread for them, get over here at 3:30. And here we go. We're sitting with Iowa now minus 3-point favorites. They opened at 3.5. There's been a half-point move to the Illini. Two teams that couldn't be more different from each other and could be playing more different football at this point. From the spread spot, 49% of the tickets and 78% of the cash is on the Hawkeyes. Yet we have a half-point move towards the Illini. Then you have 30% of the tickets and 42% of the cash on the over, and it's dropped a point towards the under. Illinois coming off its second straight win, a 48-45 overtime win at home over Indiana, is 4.5-point favorites. I wanted to move on Illinois. I didn't because CMAC gave Indiana as his best bet. Late, it looked like Illinois was going to cover. They were up 8 late, but late touchdown by Indiana. It's hard to believe that a football team couldn't cover, can't win in regulation, despite putting up 662 yards of offense. Iowa comes in off its fifth win in 6 games, 22-0 at home over Rutgers. Is 2.5-point dogs. They held Rutgers to 7 first downs and 127 total yards of offense. Take it away for us now. Great to see Swiss Horton in the chat. Swissy, great to see you. Take it away for us here. Illinois, Iowa, your best bet number 2.
Yeah. So really this goes down to, first of all, you got it's almost an auto bet to the under. And I know this isn't my primetime NFL or anything. These games scare me because they could accidentally, tip over with a weak breeze and it's an over. But Iowa's defense is staunch. 12.3 points a game, third best in the country. They're only scoring 18.8 points a game, which is god awful, but they don't need to. And that's kind of what we've seen. But this is a game where you have in Illinois that you have an average to slightly above average offensive team, in my opinion. According to the numbers, they don't really rank under 40 in any categories, and they're not over 100. So they're kind of fair to Midland average to me. But the best thing they do, if you have to look at the run or the pass game, they throw the ball better than they run the ball. But Iowa is a seventh best pass defense in the country as far as giving up yards to opponent, and then passes per game, they're second. They only give up 4.9 yards per pass play. Really, if Iowa shuts down their pass, I don't think Illinois scores. And the other thing too is on my index, I have this is the biggest discrepancy. They should be 11-point favorites according to the spreadsheet. So maybe that's too much, but there's too much value. Too short of a line for me. Iowa's defense is too good. I know I saw in the comments Illinois' quarterback threw for 425 yards. Well, he ain't doing that this week. I'm taking Iowa.
You got it. It is a very fishy line here. Very fishy. And where's your lean on the total? Because you have
gun to my head, you have to go with the under. How could you not? But it's not the 26.5 or whatever it was we saw that went under with Rutgers, but
Bet Online's also moved this to 3. So has Bovada. You're going to get a -3 and -113. Still a lot of 3.5s on the board. Iowa -3 and -113 for Dave Rogers. All right, let's move into my best bet. So 6-2 over the last 2 weeks combined, and I want to keep that going here. That's best bets, and we're 14-4 in our last 18 sides. So let's go. The black is just ahead. We start at 7 p.m. Eastern for the Boise State Broncos, 5-5, 4-2 in the Mountain West. At Utah State Aggies, 5-5, 3-3 in the Mountain West. Maverick Stadium in Logan, Utah, 48 Fahrenheit, cloudy, 3 miles per hour. There's so many things that I like for the Aggies here. It's a laundry list of things that I like. It's just one of those spots where every single thing really correlates for me. And, so the trigger has been pulled. Now the move we've seen the move towards Utah State. They opened up at Pinnacle, 4.5-point dogs. They're now 3-point dogs. It's just -102 vig wise, so that, it's a no vig situation. I expect that to move as well. I expect this to be juiced at some point here. soon. Let's go over to the total. I'm only on the side. As you guys know, I've tried to leave totals alone. The important thing of tracking all your action, of course, is that you see what's working for you and what's hurting you. And the totals just have been really hurting me this year. They started out okay, but then they fell apart. We have a very high total here, 64.5. This opened up at 64.5. There's been no movement whatsoever. Let's get over to the cash flow here for my best bet number one on the card. From a total perspective, they only have 968 tickets in, so they're telling us 67% of the tickets are on the over. We don't know how much cash. 76% of the tickets and 73% of the cash is on the Aggies. Look, we've seen a very important move from 4.5 down to 3. I'm okay with that. Boise State has won each of its last 7 games against Utah State. I love that. This is a very angry Aggie group. They're not going to let Boise State just smoke them again here. Both teams are a win away from bowl opportunities. Boise State comes in off its second win in 3 games. It was a very easy 42-14 home victory over New Mexico, a horrible football team, 27.5 point favorites. I like fading a team that goes up against a very weak opponent. They let the weak opponent, the Lobos, put up 323 yards of offense on them. You have a 5'10" freshman going up against a senior quarterback. So 5'10" freshman quarterback, Maddox Madsen. It's difficult for these freshmen to play on the road. Logan, Utah's not an easy place to play. Maddox Madsen was 6 of 11 for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Broncos are 128th in the country, allowing 286.2 yards per game through the air. Only 5 teams are worse. This is another point of contention for why I'm fading the team in the next game for my best bet. They can just get beaten so badly through the air. Boise State, the last 5 road games against the spread, 0-4-1. Utah State comes in off its second straight win, 41-24 at home over Nevada as 14.5 point favorites. Yeah, Nevada's not a very good team, but Nevada would easily take out the Lobos. You have the senior quarterback in Cooper Legas. He's 18 touchdown passes this year. In his last 3 home games, he's throwing 10 touchdown passes. We already touched on Boise State's inability to stop anything through the air. Utah State will move the ball with ease against this Broncos defense and will cover as a home dog and stop the 7-game losing streak against Boise State Broncos. Dave, my action, best bet number 1, Utah State Aggies here in the Mountain West. What do you think of this spot?
Yeah, I lean that way. The number for me on the sheet is dead on, but I'm not impressed with Boise State. And I guess I don't know if a Mountain West title means much in football. Going to a bowl game does, and Boise State's kind of in contention, but they're going to get waxed by Air Force. If you could get a hook, is there a hook anywhere out there?
Yeah. No, on the 3s, we've moved here. Let me just get back to.
I'd bet this at 3, and I'd bet this at 3.5. The 3, I'd stand pat, but.
No, I couldn't find one when
you have to buy the points. Yeah, I mean, lean towards Utah State. I like everything you said, especially with being able to exploit their pass defense. But yeah, definitely lean Utah State.
I'm looking forward to this game, 7 p.m. on Saturday night, and I've got the Aggies. Let's move on to best bet number 2 for me, and we head to Corvallis, Oregon. This is a highly talked about game here this weekend, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Number 5 ranked Washington Huskies, 10-0, 7-0 in the Pac-12. At the Oregon State Beavers, 8-2, 5-2 in the Pac-12. 51 Fahrenheit. Rain is in the forecast. 8-mile-per-hour winds. Let's move over to the line history here for this giant football game. We have Oregon State now down to a -2. There are some 2.5s on the board. Pinnacle has this at -2.5. This opened up with Oregon State as a +1 point dog. They were there for 1 minute. 1 minute before they went to -1.5. Then a couple minutes later, that juice dropped. They were juiced to -1.5. Then it became an even money -1.5. But it stayed at -1.5 for a while until Monday morning. It moved to -1. It was -1 on Monday morning until Tuesday morning at 3 in the morning. They moved to -2.5 at -107 at Pinnacle. Not all the books have followed, but there's a clear move towards the Beavers here. Let's get to the total in this one. The total, and remember, it is raining, but there's not much wind. It is raining. From a total perspective, we're sitting at 63.5. This is juiced to the under. It opened up at 64. It's dropped a half point down to 63. Let's get over to the cash flow for this one. And here we'll have a lot of tickets, just under 7,000. 60% of the tickets and 74% of the cash are on Oregon State, 60 and 74. And from a total perspective here, you have 15% of the tickets on the under and 46% of the cash. Nutfall Challenge says, look at the team total over. Nuke Worker with me on the Utah State spot. Robert Franklin here liking Washington money line, and Robert Franklin on the other side too. He's on Boise -3. And there's threes everywhere too, Robert. So if you want to hit that again, you'll get that without the hook. Washington State comes in off their 10th straight win, 35-28 at home. It's 9.5-point favorites over Utah to keep their perfect season alive. All of the pressure here, all of it, is squarely on the Huskies and Michael Penix Jr., who's been excellent this year. He can handle the pressure. Can the rest of the team handle it? He's throwing for 3,533 passing yards, 28 touchdowns, 7 picks. Oregon State's pass defense is not good. Ranks 82nd in the nation, allowing 241.9 yards per game. But it's a lot better than Washington's. Washington's 122nd in the nation, allowing 269.6. Now, I know that teams are often, behind Washington and being forced to throw the ball, and that's a legit counter argument to that statistic. Oregon State comes in off a 62-17 win at home over Stanford as 21.5-point favorites. I would prefer them not coming out of a game against the minnow, against the cupcake. I'd rather they play it against a good team. But when you play against a real tough football team, it does hurt you a little bit the next week. We always talk about it when you face the 49ers the next week, what the record is. Utah's defense is tough, and that the battles that were going on in the line of scrimmage between Washington and Utah were hardcore battles, and Oregon State did not have to go through any of those battles against Stanford. They put up 598 yards of offense in the win. We know what this running attack can do with Damian Martinez and Deshaun Fenwick. They are monsters. This Washington rush defense is bad. 121st in EPA per rush, 127th in success allowed on the ground. That's going to allow the Beavers to keep Penix off the field. They're going to win the time of possession battle. And let's talk about what's going on with Jonathan Smith. Obviously, he has a bone to pick with Washington. In his Oregon State era, he's 14-2 against the spread as a home favorite. This is an Oregon State team that's third in the nation in the red zone with no pressure on them here. It's all on the Huskies. I'm on Oregon State. I'm on Oregon State -2, -110. And I did up my unit size for these two bets. It's a time of year where my quantity is going down. So I did up my unit size to what an NFL unit is. So it's basically a unit and I guess 1.33 units of college football. And I'm pumped up for Saturday night with these two games going on, 7 and 7:30. It's just going to be glorious. Take it away, Dave. I know you know these two teams very, very well as you keep a very close eye on the Pac-12. Huskies, Beavers in Corvallis, Oregon.
What a game. We've got some great Pac-12 action, and who would have thought that so many of these teams would be ranked? I actually thought we knew Washington was going to be, if they didn't fall off to this point. Oregon State's, maybe surprises some people, but I've been saying this is a dark horse contender to win the whole damn conference. Their defense is always really, really good. When they get some parts of their offense clicking, this team can really go. And Corvallis is not an easy place to play by any means. I stayed off this game though, and I do lean your way. I do lean Oregon State. I see Washington and Oregon, and I've watched a lot of their football, and both teams aren't going to be up there at the end of the year, is what I said. And I think Washington's the one that falls off, but that doesn't have any statistics or anything behind it. That's just my sticking my finger in the wind and seeing which way it's blowing. But the tail of the tape is going to be, just like you said, whether Oregon can run the ball and slow the game down, and keep Michael Penix Jr. off the field, because as you said, Oregon State's the part of their defense that's really good is their rush defense. Their pass defense is very, very mediocre and bad in some spots. So if they can control that, then they win the game. If they don't, Washington might throw it all over them.
Yeah, it's possible. And this is going to be extremely unpopular bet. Everyone, the public, although with the early action here, the public is not on Washington. They will be. We know that they will be. At this point here with the spread, you have just 40% of the tickets and 28% of the cash on Washington. From a money line standpoint, you have 32% of the tickets and just 11% of the cash. There's only 7,000 tickets in because we're Wednesday morning. We're 4 days before the action starts. But the Washington will become very public. And if you look at the chat, it's all Huskies here. Wrist Ain't Breezy, Chosen One, Nuke Worker, DC Capper, Robert Franklin. And this is exactly what's been working for me on my 14-4 run, being on a side that almost nobody else is on. And so I knew it was not going to be a popular look, but I believe it will get me paid in full. Let's see the Huskies with all the pressure on them going to Corvallis in the rain and come out with a victory. I don't think either of these teams are worthy of the college football playoffs. Maybe next year when it's expanded, but not this year.
One more thing to say about that game is I definitely do this in college basketball, and this doesn't fit the mold exactly, even though it's not in college basketball and it's not exactly what I'm going to say, but it kind of fits. When you have an unranked team that's favored over a ranked team, well, this is a lower ranked team over a much higher ranked team that's favored. It's always worth a look.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think the line makes sense. I'm very interested to see where it goes. But again, this line came out at Pinnacle for 1 minute before Oregon State went from dog to favorite. 1 minute. I'm excited. That is our college football best bets here for Wednesday, November 15th, week 12 of college football action. Dave is on the over 44.5 in Utes Wildcats. He's on Iowa -3 at -113 in Illini Hawkeyes. I am on Utah State Aggies at +3, and I'm on the Oregon State Beavers at -2. And there we go. Let's move on to college basketball. I got off to a 1-0 start, trying to keep my quantity of action down. And then Friday, when I swept the board in NBA 3-0, I went 0-3 in college basketball the same night. So I've not moved since then. Only 4 bets here on the year. You opened up 2-1 on your first show, Dave, and your personal action went 3-0. You just gave out lines that were available here during the show, and that cost you a perfect night by a point. But your action showed, your bankroll showed the glory here. We've already got looks from the cappers in the chat. We've had looks from both Big Scott 510 and Ronnie and Bergia on our first game here, and they're both on Richmond +5. I'll talk about Ronnie, Big Scott, and Perky's action as we go through. Robert Franklin also, he's on Canisius +9 as well here in that Canisius Cleveland State game. But we start here with Richmond and Boston College, 2 teams that have started the year undefeated. And Richmond comes in off of a smash and grab against Siena, 90-48. Boston College just barely got past Citadel in their last game. Both have had some time off here. The Richmond spot was on Remembrance Day, and Boston College last played on Friday. Let's take a look at the line history here for Dave's first bet on the college basketball card this evening. Let me just quickly move over to college basketball and let's roll here. We have Boston College sitting between 4 and 5 point favorites. Pinnacle has them -4.5 at -107. They opened at 4. They got up to 5.5. They were 5.5 point favorites this morning at 8:06 a.m. There's been a full point of buyback towards Richmond. Richmond can be picked up at +4, +4.5, or +5 depending on where you shop. Let's get into the total for this one. From a total side of things, we're sitting at 140.5. This opened up at 146. We've moved 5.5 points towards the under. A huge move towards this under. Let's take a look at the cash flow then for this one. We have over here. No, shoot. Sorry. I'm sorry. I already still on college football. Let's move over to college basketball, all markets. And here we go. So from a cash flow standpoint, 26% of the tickets and 61% of the cash is on Boston College. 72% of the tickets and 92% of cash is on this under. Take it away for us here, Dave. Your first spot on the board. We're in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts for Spiders, Eagles.
Yep. So a few points in this game. Both of these teams started off 2-0. But for what it's worth, Richmond's 3-1 in all of their meetings. But as we know, year to year, these teams. Well, first of all, these teams don't play every year, and second of all, year to year, teams change. But there is something behind that stat, I guess. But really, there's 2 points here for Richmond. I'm taking Richmond. That's going to be my play, and that's because even though it's early, when you look at we talk about in capping, we talk about finding the pieces where one team is bad and the other team is good, and if that's worthy of putting a check mark towards betting them. And there's one here, and that's that Boston College so far has been horrible at defending the three. 38.5% opponents' 3-point percentage, which is 290th. We all know there's 363 teams, so that's ass awful. And Richmond has been very good at shooting the three, 41.8%. When you get over 40% in college, that's really, really good. They're 25th in the nation. So check mark there. And really, to me, in this game, the only way that BC can bang on offense is down in the front court. Problem is that Richmond has 2 7-footers that play, Neil Quinn and Mike Waltz, and they're beasts. So I think there's going to be a mismatch there. There's going to be a mismatch in the front court and the back court, basically, on offense. I think that's the difference. And I'm getting very good value because I have this game around a pick 'em. So 4 points, 4.5 points, 5 points. I want the points with Richmond here. You're muted, bud.
All right. Let's get that for you. Ronnie and Bergia and Big Scott with you here on the Richmond Spiders. By the way, Perky gave us his NCAA basketball play of the day, and it is Princeton -4. We got 2 more spots here in college basketball, and then we move on to NBA with Dutch Boy Fresh. Let's get this Richmond Boston College spot here and see if we can get you a 5, and we can. We can get you a +5. Now it's 5 cents of juice. Let's see if we can beat that. Plus, my bookie, no juice. +5 -110. So here we go. Richmond +5 -110. Let's see what Heritage is hanging here. Is anyone else hanging a 5? No. So we got you +5 -110 available right now at MyBookie. Don't forget, if you open up a new account at MyBookie, we have a promo on our website and they will match your buy-in. So check that out. Let's move on. For you, 7 p.m. Eastern, your next spot on the board, St. Peter's Peacocks, 1-1 to start the year to Fairleigh Dickinson Knights, 2-1, 1-0 at home. We're in Teaneck, New Jersey for this one. Let's set this up here for our guy, Dave, in this spot here. St. Peter's very slight favorites. They come off a win at NJIT, a big one, 75-48. That came on the heels of a season opening loss at Seton Hall, 70-59. Fairleigh Dickinson also just played at Seton Hall, so we have a common foe here, and they got destroyed by 30 points while St. Peter's was in that game throughout. Take a look at the line history. We have over here, where the hell is it? Fairleigh Dickinson. There we go. We have Pinnacle hanging Fairleigh Dickinson at +1.5. That's where they open. There's been no movement on the side. And from a total side of things, we have it sitting at 140. This total is sitting at 140. That's where it opened. So we've had no movement on side or total on this. And when we get to the cash flow for this one, sorry, pull this up here. We have 70% of the tickets and just 40% of the cash on Fairleigh Dickinson. And we have 67% of tickets on the under. We don't have a cash flow statement yet, just 1,400 tickets in. Take it away here for a St. Peter's Peacocks, Fairleigh Dickinson Knights in Teaneck, New Jersey.
Yeah, this is the type of basketball game that I love. You know, it's a lot of people want to talk about the all of the blue chip schools in the top 25. This is in my wheelhouse. And this St. Peter's has been one of the teams that I've made a lot of money on. And really the main reason why I did bet them in that tournament, in that run when they knocked off Kentucky. But what they are is under machines, especially out of conference early in the season. 3-7 last year to the under. They're 1-1 this season. The first game went over by 1.5 and they were on track to score like 100 points in the first half, and second half blew up in their first game, which is a rarity. But either way, the reason why St. Peter's is an under machine is they bring down, I mean, it's not even necessarily controlling pace of play, because their pace of play is very, very slow. So far this season, 64.4 possessions per game. That's 347th. That's way at the tail end of that number for the country. But they just have this thing where they bring you down to their level as far as scoring. We saw that with Seton Hall. It almost doesn't matter who the team is, but especially out of conference, there's this weird juju they have. And when you have out of conference games, when they get in conference, the MAAC is Metro Atlantic is full of under machines. So the totals are in the 120s, sometimes lower than 120. But while you can still get totals that are 10 to 15 points higher, take advantage of them with St. Peter's. Fairleigh Dickinson does have 81.1 possessions per game for their first two games, which is 10th, which means they play fast. But that's the reason this total is at 140 instead of 130, because that's where it would be if we're playing a team that had a normal possessions per game number. So I'm on the under here. I love the 140. Almost every time there's over a 135 with St. Peter's, it's nearly an insta bet for me. Like I said, the reason why this is even a little bit higher is Fairleigh Dickinson does play fast, but St. Peter's woos them, woos their opponent down to their speed, and that's what they're going to do. Take the under.
You got it. 140s are available right now, so we can get you the under 140 at minus 110. Looks like it's on its way down, but right now that is available. Let's move on to the final spot on your board before we get into NBA. Set up the cash and the line history here for this one. We move on to the Georgetown Hoyas at the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Rutgers has played 3 games thus far, 2 at home, and taking care of business. Pretty weak competition in Boston and Bryant, but they took care of that here. Let's move on to Georgetown. Georgetown coming off a surprise 68-67 loss at home to Holy Cross. They went in. Oh, they're not giving me the. Not even giving me the spread for that one, but obvious surprise here. Holy Cross defeating Georgetown. Let's get into the line history here for you. Again, this one pops off at 8:30 p.m. The total sitting at 133.5. This opened up at 136.5. It got down to 132.5 at 8:30 this morning. So there has been 1 point of buyback. And from a point spread situation here, we have it's sitting with Rutgers as 10-point favorites at Pinnacle. Other lines in other books, 9s, 9.5s, but Pinnacle has moved it to 10. This opened up at 9.5. Actually went down to 9 before it got up to 10. So Rutgers is 10-point favorites here. Taking a look at the cash flow for this one on the spread, 17% of the tickets and 27% of the cash is on Rutgers. Wow. And then and the market moving towards them slightly, but moving towards them. Then you have 39% of tickets and 87% of cash on the under. And we've seen a big move towards the under. Take it away for us here, Dave. Your final spot on the board, Hoyas, Scarlet Knights.
Yeah, there's a good reason why this number is so low and it's dropping. It's really a horrible team in Georgetown. That's why Ewing's gone and Ed Cooley's there. They had to have a change. I don't know how much that's going to do. The program just needs to have some sort of adjustment. Maybe he can do it, but either way, just a bad school. And then a team in Rutgers that for most of recent memory has been geared towards defense and not offense, but two very, very slow paced teams. Rutgers 68.6 possessions per game. That's 290th. And Georgetown 67.8 possessions per game. That's 305. Just slow paying teams. And then when you have Rutgers, who's only given up 56.7 points per game, only scores 65, and then Georgetown gives up 62, and they scored a bunch of points against Lemoyne, that new school that got promoted from Division II, but that doesn't mean anything because then they went back to Holy Cross, who's a crappy school, and only scored 67 points. So I think this is a low total, and that scares people. But this is like an Iowa deal or a St. Peter's deal. Every box pretty much checks under. So if that's the case, bet the under, and that's what I did. Whatever the number is.
133.5. What did you get it at?
134.5. But I'm fine. I'm probably fine down to 132, and I'm comfortable.
Yeah, there's no 134s left. 133.5 here. We can get that at minus 108. Under one now, Bet Chris has that juice to minus 115. It's probably on its way down. But let's give you that under 133.5 minus 108. I wish the Hoyas didn't just get snaked by Holy Cross because the clear with just 17% of the tickets on Rutgers and the line moving slightly towards them, I would want to follow through and take Rutgers, but I don't want to fade Georgetown after being completely embarrassed and now having to be as sharp as possible as a big dog in Jersey Mike's Arena. So Dave is locked in. Dave here. So move over this.
There is slight value on the there's not enough for me to jump, but there's a 1.5 of value on Rutgers. So I'd lean Rutgers too.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Dave is on Richmond +5 at minus 110. He's on the under 140 in St. Peter's Fairleigh Dickinson, and he's on the under 133.5 in Georgetown Rutgers. And from our cappers in the chat, Ronnie and Bergie also on Richmond. He gave us Canisius Pacific, and he's also on St. Peter's and Radford at +5.5. And as I said earlier, Perky Sanderson gave us his NCAA best bet play of the day, and that's Princeton -4. Dave, great work here. I will review all of your action at the end of the show, but his college basketball is in, best bets in, as well as he has one move on tonight's MACtion, and that is the Red Hawks. And we've heard that the Red Hawks has moved down to 7.5 across the board here. Dan Kelly says he's seeing Princeton +6. That was it. Because I just mentioned it again, Dan. Perky, +4. Oh, I know. Maybe he made a mistake saying -4. You have to ask Perky. You have to ask Big Perks. I'll message him, Dan, but I'll stop mentioning that if there's a 10-point difference against them here. I'll just delete that. There we go. Dave, great work. Great to have you here joining us on a Wednesday. You got off to a great start on the season. Keep it rolling. And also tell us a little bit what's going on the Picks from Dave YouTube channel.
Yep. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. A shout out to the chat. You guys are awesome. Picks from Dave on Twitter and YouTube. On YouTube, we do shows twice a week, Friday nights, called Nerd Talk. A lot of familiar faces that you guys have seen, Earl Twins, Mikey Pimp Slap. We go over the weekend's games. We also live bet the Friday night action. And then on Saturdays, Nick and I start bright and early from the first football game and go the whole day through the end of the last one. Sometimes we don't get through the Hawaii game if it's in Hawaii, but it's basically an all-day stream. It was called the Super Mega Unnecessarily Long All-Day College Football Stream, but now it's going to be the Every Sports Stream because we cover both footballs, both basketballs, hockey, soccer, tennis, everything. So Picks from Dave on YouTube and on Twitter.
I love it, Dave. Thank you for being a part of the show. We look forward to having you back again next week, my friend. Get that cash, and thank you. There he is, Dave Rogers, coming to us from Arizona. And so we got the information from Ricky Bobby saying that Perky is taking Princeton on the alt line. for a big score. That's cool. Now I'll rewrite it here. Outline perky action. Okay, let's roll on to NBA. I swept the board on Friday. Unfortunately, I went 0-3 in college basketball on Friday. So the glory wasn't that good. But it's a decent start in NBA. Trying to keep everything clean. Decent start. And I've had winning days with our guest on Wednesdays. And he's had some bad luck, bad bounces, late bad bounces. So, and he's just 6-7, but he should be in the black. And I know he will be in the black soon. Coming to us from Las Vegas, Nevada, the city we all dream of being in every day, the city where New Yorker will be next week. Please welcome our guy, Dutch Boy Fresh. Dutchy, what's good?
Jimmy the motherfucking bag. NBA is a hell of a drug. And you're looking at the plug. Yeah, man. How we doing?
We are doing great, man. I'm excited. I'm excited.
A nice card today.
It's a nice card. It's not overwhelming. You know, we've been getting crushed with these 13 game cards. The first thing I thought was, oh, good. We're not going to get destroyed, not feel the weight of a 13 game card. Also, the pace of play, it's just not helping me out enough at this point. I feel like it's early in the year and the data just, so I am trying to leave totals alone. I know a lot of cappers crushing totals and respect to that, but sides have been working for me. And the 3-0 day on Friday was wonderful, and I'm ready to attack, and I'm happy to have you here right now. So let's get right to work. Let me just set up my action here so everything's ready to go. Get over to NBA there, get over to all markets, and let's move this over to NBA as well. And I'll have this set up perfectly as we move forward. Okay, let's roll. We open up with 7 p.m. Eastern action. Dallas Mavericks at Washington Wizards. Mavericks 8-3, 4-2 on the road. Wizards 2-8, 1-2 at home at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. You were on the Toronto Raptors. Were you on the which you had the Raptors in Dallas? Was that the one you had? You got me on the Raptors in one of your shows over the last 2 weeks. I could pull up the.
It was on the Bucks at the crib, but this one was a game that we talked about. Everything was pointing to the Raptors.
Yeah, and I moved on it, and it got me paid here. The Mavericks have been a tricky team to figure out here. They lost that Raptors game soundly. That was last week. Soundly here. 127-116. They were down all game long. They came back. They smashed the Clip show on Friday, 144-126. Then on Sunday, they beat the Pelicanos in New Orleans. And then the Pelicanos come back and stomped them last night. So here we go. The third game in 4 nights for the Dallas Mavericks, going up against the Wizards, who have lost 3 straight. They were in complete control against the aforementioned Raptors and let everything come back and fall apart. They lose at home to Charlotte, at Brooklyn, at the Raptors, and now they come back home. And the last time they were at home was the second half of home and home with the Hornets. When the market was telling us the Hornets were to play, I was still uncomfortable taking the Hornets, and the Hornets took out the Wizards 124-117. Let's go into the line history here for this one. Mavs, Wizards. We have it sitting right now at Pinnacle with Dallas -6. They open up -5.5, so there's been a half-point move in their direction. From a total side of things here, we have a 246. These Wizards totals are unbelievable. This opened up at 243, and we're all the way up to 246. When we look at the cash flow, 60% of the tickets, 87% of the cash on the Mavs. From a total scenario, we only know that 68% of the tickets are on the over. They're not giving us a cash flow. Take it away for us here, Dutchy. Your game 1 on the card, Mavericks Wizards.
Yeah, man. I'm on the Luka the Don and the motherfucking Mavericks right here. I tweeted out last night -5.5. Should still, hopefully it's still out there. If not, 6 is good money. Mavericks got punked last night. We talked about it yesterday a little bit. How the Pelicanos were beat up and the Mavericks only laying 3-4. It was just a tricky situation hanging around. It is a three, you did mention a couple, the 3 games in 4 nights, but they did hang around in New Orleans. They didn't have to travel. They had the back-to-back situation there, smacked them around, and then obviously hanging around in New Orleans. Got smacked the fuck around last night. Wasn't even a competitive basketball game. I mean, look at the motherfucking Don played 26 minutes, led all starters with 26 minutes. So they threw in the flag early. Jason Kidd obviously knew that they were going to be traveling to Washington. And who's better to get a little feel good after getting your ass smacked? But then the Washington fucking Wizards, bro. This team is horrible. They allow 125 points per game, 28th in the league. Have lost 7 of the last 8 basketball games, with their only win coming against the same situation Dallas just had with back-to-back against the same team. The Charlotte Hornets smacked them around, and then Charlotte beat them the second time, or other way around, excuse me. But the Wizards just aren't, in my opinion, they're not even a basketball team. They're just some hoopers, man. They got Jordan Poole out there. Fucking, the guy's hilarious. He's just a clown. He really is. Is he a talented clown? Absolutely, but he's a fucking clown. And then of course Kuzma. I mean, shit. These guys are perfect for each other. The Washington Wizards, literally, you could just watch this team and laugh. They'll have their moments, but they're not going to stop anybody. I believe Dallas runs these boys out the gym. They have lost 4 straight to the Wizards, and obviously coming off this 24-point loss. They're second in scoring this year, averaging right under 123 points. I believe these boys, team total over whatever you want to load up with the Mavericks, is going to be good money today. But I like the 5.5, 6. I think they smack these boys around. Get right spot in Washington.
It has moved down to 5 while we've been talking about it. So we can get you the Mavs -5 and -105. Too low VIG as well. Remos looking at that Dallas team total over. Chosen One says, I'm a Wizards fan and we are trash. Did y'all see how they tricked off the lead versus the Raps in the last 6 minutes? And the Trill OG play of the day is in from our guy LJ from H-Town. Says Luka over 46.9 points, rebound, assists. Since 2021, Luka averaged 48 points, rebound, assists, coming off a game when he scored under 20 points. And we already heard that from Alec Dirks. Alec Dirks came into our chat early in the show, gave us the Luka 45 plus points, rebound, assists, and the Mavs money line. Together, that is a +110 spot for our guy. So locked in.
Yeah, that's it. +110 should be more than that, no? I guess they know something.
Yeah, I mean, he does drop it down, like 1.5, and then with the money
he
line.
did? Oh, he did one of those things? Oh, yeah, my bad. Okay.
No, but I feel you. Robert Franklin says Mavs by double digits. And North Ender says Penny just took this game off the board. Is that facts?
Maybe no Kyrie or something. I believe Luka plays, though.
Let me go over to this. Wow. The NBA trying to... Yeah, it's off the board.
The fuckery's in full effect.
Yeah, dude. Ask Cleveland Brown fans about that.
I know.
All right.
Sickening, right? Watson out.
Wow. Dutch has moved on the Mavs -5 at -105. Let's move on. Next up for us, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, the New York Knicks 5-5, 2-3 on the road at the Atlanta Hawks, 6-4, 2-2 at home. We're at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. Let's get into the line history here for this one. We have 2 game time decisions with, first off, on the Atlanta side of things, Trae Young, a game time decision, and then RJ on the Knicks side of things is a game time decision. We have the Knicks sitting at -1 at -103. They open at -1 at -105. So there's been very little movement there. From a total side of things here, we have the total at 228.5. This opened up at 230, so we've gone down 1.5. And move over here quickly. That is the situation here with these Knicks and the Hawks. So obviously we need to find out what's going on with Barrett. We need to find out what's going on with Trae. But the Knicks have been off since Monday, that 114-98 loss at the Celtics that snapped their 3-game winning streak. And the Hawks coming off a back-to-back. So this is the second half back-to-back. They played last night at Detroit, winning 126-120. Take it away for us here, Dutch. Knicks, Hawks.
Yeah, man. I'm not going to complicate this too much. I like the Knickerbockers here. Hopefully RJ Barrett's out there. little Trey's ass can be out there or not. But either way, I think this Atlanta team through full 4 quarters is going to be pretty tired by the end of this game. This is always a competitive. These two teams don't really like each other. Obviously, no Trae Young last night, so if he goes, he will be fresh. But outside of that, I mean, Murray had a hell of a game last night, 32, 5, and 10, but he also played 37 motherfucking minutes. Everyone in their starting lineup played heavy minutes outside of Capella. Now you're going to go against a physical, grounded out New York basketball team. I just like the Knicks here as a pick 'em, especially coming off a 16-point loss to the Boston Celtics. Set around on that for about 48 hours. And I believe they'll be ready to rock and roll. After winning 3 straight basketball games, I mean, they didn't really show up against the Celtics. Only had 98 points in that basketball game. Prior to that, in the 3-game winning span, they are averaging 122 points per game. I believe they get back to that against the Atlanta defense, who I'm just not too confident in. And they've had their way in these matchups. They're 2-0 straight up. And it gets the number the last 2 meetings in Atlanta. 3 of the last 4 overall, and 6 of the last 9 basketball games against the Atlanta Hawks they've won outright. And the Hawks this year have been also suspect at the crib. Usually a bet on team at the house. They're 1-3 against the number at the house this year. I believe Julius Randle in the last 2 games, Jalen Brunson also has had his way. They really have nothing for Jalen Brunson. I mean, he's had 31 and 28, and obviously they beat him a little bit earlier this year. Already in Atlanta by 6, I believe it was. I just think Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson had 13 boards in that game as well. I believe they're too big for them. Capella obviously is a talented rebounder, but a boy like Mitchell Robinson is just a little bit beefier than him, kind of puts a body on him. And then they have a lot of trouble with Julius Randle. They really don't. Sadiq Bey, their starting power forwards, they say he's 6'8", but he's a little frail going up against Julius Randle. I believe he'll have his way. As long as he doesn't get happy with that 3-pointer. He's averaging 18 and 10, coming off a 25-point game. I think, just don't settle for the 3. And as I've mentioned, Julius Randle is the 2 on this team. Jalen Brunson is the best player on this team. As long as the Knicks play that way and can get some consistency from the bench with Quickly, and DiVincenzo, and the one more cat that's been playing decent, but their bench is a little bit lighter than last year. I've noticed watching these guys. Obviously, losing Obi Toppin, I think was a big piece off the bench. So need a little bit more from the bench, but I believe Atlanta will be a tired basketball team, and Jalen Brunson will be the best player on the court tonight. And Julius Randle plays bully ball against the suspect front court. I like the Knicks here in a pick 'em.
And Millsy says
-105 is what I believe was the best out there. When I see
it's out there still, -105 money line. Millsy says Trae Young plays. He had a baby yesterday. Going for 7.
But I think Jalen Brunson bust that ass, so I like the matchup even more. There, I think they might obviously a little bit better offensively with Trae Young in the backcourt, but they just get even more of a liability on defense with Trae Young back there.
We have Dutch locked in. Knicks money line -105. We move on to a big one. 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Boston Celtics 8-2, 3-2 on the road. Philadelphia 76ers 8-2, 6-1 at home. Wells Fargo Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And it feels like we were just here, Dutch. A week ago, we had.
Shout out to Sky Dragon, aka Mr. Garcia.
Yes, he was bullish on his Sixers, but that was the last time the Celtics lost last Wednesday, that 106-103 loss at Philly. Since then, they beat Brooklyn by 14, beat the Raptors by 23, and beat the Knicks by 16. The Sixers are on the second half of a back-to-back. They had their winning streak snap, their first home loss last night in the 132-126 Pacers victory, and Embiid scored 39 in the loss. Do you expect him to be on the floor today?
I think he'll play. I do think he'll play.
38 minutes him and Maxey played last night. 38 minutes. So let's take a look and see what the plan is here. Jaylen Brown, game time decision. Batum, game time decision. There's no whisper that Embiid might not be out might not be out on the floor. Philadelphia +4.5 here, +4.5 on the second half of back-to-back. They opened up at 4.5. That's where they are right now. They've been at 4. There was 4s there for a little while. From a total scenario, we have it sitting at 224.5 at a pick'em. This opened up at 223.5 and shot all the way up to 227. I mean, this was at 227 2 hours and 45 minutes ago. So the drop down to 224.5, a 2.5 point drop is pretty interesting here. Robert Franklin on the under 225. And DG says he wants to do that cute thing again and take Philly.
Yeah. I remember that comment. That's why I gave him a shout out, motherfucker.
He's a guy. He keeps receipts. He takes notes. He keeps receipts. He always says, "I'm copying and pasting this for trolling." So there we go. Cute thing again. Let's take a look at the cash flow. 50% of the tickets. So we have 9,655 tickets in. 50%. And I don't know if you want to take these things for face value, but 50% of the tickets and 99% of the cash on the Celtics. Then 58% of tickets, 78% of cash on the under. If there was 99% of cash on the Celtics and the books were concerned, you'd think it would move a little bit off that number, which it has not. Take it away for us here, Dutch. Celtics, Sixers, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, man. This one's tough for me. Instantly thought, why not the Celtics? I watched that Pacer game last night. Had the over and the team total over for the Sixers, so got there. But I think that I don't know. It was a tough game. They played Maxey pretty tough. I mean, Embiid was huffing and puffing. As you mentioned, they both played 38 minutes. So my instant thought was just to get on the Boston Celtics here. But I started thinking about it. It's like, damn, I kind of want to get cute a little bit. I kind of think Philly first half is the look. I have 4 plays on this card on the 8-game slate, so it's a lot for me already. I'm gonna stay off this one. Might get to it later in the day. If I do, I'll tweet it out. But I do think Boston should get him here. I do think the Sixers should be tired. I know they were looking ahead to this game, so I don't believe the fans will allow Embiid to sit. So I don't think he sits. But I do think he gets tired. But he does have a beautiful fucking matchup against these boys. I mean, KP, as someone says in the chat right here, Chosen One, is a game time decision with the knee. Imagine that already starting with this motherfucker. So but Embiid, it's green light. It's eyes fucking wide the fuck open with anybody on that court for the Boston Celtics, because they have absolutely nothing for him. So, but I do think this is a Celtic spot. Obviously, losing to them here less than a week ago, and in that game, Tatum and Brown were pretty bummy. I mean, we're not going to see it well. Tatum did get 15 boards, but outside of that, I mean, they combined for 27 points, 10 from 27 from the field. The best thing going, Mr. Tatum and Brown. So I know they got to play a lot better than that if they want to go into Philly and win them on a back-to-back or not. We're minus 13 in the rebounds in that game as well. They out-rebounded them by double digits, had a lot to do with winning that game, in my opinion. And, but Boston has had their way in recent history. They're 5-2 ATS, last 7 in Philly, and have covered 9 out of the last 13 meetings versus these boys. So can't go to the window with Philly. Salute to anyone that can. And if I would, I'd go first half with the Philly, because I do believe their legs will tire through 4 quarters. But I'm not going to lay the 4.5 with Boston today. Heavy lean that way, though, full game.
Yeah, I wonder. It's a tricky spot for the Sixers here, but all these big bets on the Celtics, and want to see that line move. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. Milwaukee Bucks 6-4, 1-3 on the road at Toronto Raptors, 5-5, 3-2 at home at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, Ontario. Bucks snapped their 2-game losing streak on Monday, winning 118-109 at home versus the Bulls. Very easy to say that they haven't looked good. That was an impressive comeback victory for the Raptors at home against the Wizards. Now, we know the Wizards are terrible, but, it takes a lot to come back in the last 6.5 minutes like that. And we all remember what happened 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, Raptors, Bucks, and you got me on the Raptors, and they crushed Milwaukee from the opening tip-off. That was coming on off the heels of a horrific home loss, 99-91 at home to Portland. That was the second half or I guess it wasn't the second half back-to-back. That was the 3 games in 4 days. They lost it. It was the first half of back-to-back because they went into Philly. So they have not played since that Monday come from behind victory versus Washington. And, they're playing pretty good basketball right now. We do have issues with game time decisions. Giannis Antetokounmpo, a game time decision. Anunoby and Gary Trent, game time decisions. So that needs to be figured out here. By the way, Troy Torrance says the line did move low key. Philly won and covered a week ago. 2.5 point dogs. Now they open at 4.5. Yeah, no, that makes sense. He says line functionality at its finest. Saturated says, give me the Raps. Bucks don't cover shit except my Bulls, especially on the road. The issue here is that it feels real fresh. What happened? The Bucks got destroyed in Toronto. They have to be talking about this. It has to be a clear memory for them. That's all. That's a huge kind of red flag for me. This total is sitting at 228.5. It opened up at 226. We've gone up 2.5 points. You never know if the Raptors are going to shoot 40% from 3 or 12% from 3. This spread is sitting here with the Raptors plus 5.5 minus 109. They opened up at 5. They went down to 4.5, and now they are at 5.5. And when we take a look at the cash flow for this one, you have 38% of tickets, 48% of cash on the Raptors, 60% of tickets, 67% cash on the over. Dan Kelly says, cannot bet the Bucks until they fire Adrian Griffin. If anyone sees a first coach to get fired line, let me know. Ristain Breezy, full game under. Lillard was 3 of 17 last game. What you think it don't matter? It wasn't the fact that he shot poorly for me. It was the fact that Dennis Schroeder was bullying him. And I just couldn't believe it. He was bullying him. And that could not have sat well with Dame time. Take it away for us here. Dutchie, what a fascinating game up here in the 6th Scotiabank Arena, Toronto, Ontario. Raptors at home to the Bucks.
Yeah, man. This one, I really just can't overthink it. I mean, obviously, I had those thoughts of, wow, we were just here. 19-point win as a 4 or 5 point dog. I mean, it's the same damn thing. Last time they played in Toronto too. Toronto was a 4-point dog. Bucks got smacked by 16. Second time around by 19. Well, goddamn it! Now you're gonna give me 4 or 5.5 points again. I think the Raptors are live to win this basketball game, especially after what they just did against the bummy ass Washington Wizards. I mean, that was one hell of a way to close a basketball game. You play like shit for 3.5 quarters, and the numbers, you just gotta look at them twice. They don't look real what they did to the Washington Wizards. Yeah, maybe it was more of them losing the Wizards as well, but I mean, it was impressive to come back and win that basketball game, whatever the fuck you could say. Schroeder had a horrible night. Probably his worst game as a Toronto Raptor. I believe he bounces back. I like his edge. I like his chippiness. And guys like Dame, he really wants to show out. So I'm a Dame time guy, but I'm telling you, like, as we talked about this before, Schroeder is not a good matchup for Dame. He's going to attack. He's going to make Dame move nonstop on the defensive end. And he's going to play every possession with a chip on his shoulder from a defensive perspective. So I don't think, the Raptors match up too well against from a defensive perspective. They match up real well against these Bucks. The Bucks don't really want to see these guys like outside. I mean, they're long, they're lanky, they're quick. I mean, simply outside of Giannis, just not what the fucking Bucks are, man. I mean, so I want OG out there, more length, more to swarm on the perimeter. But the Bucks, man, their bench is suspect. They're talking about making moves. They got Mr. Beasley, starting here, and Malik Beasley starting as the 2. I just don't see it right now. And not to mention, they're 0-7 ATS last 7 basketball games overall. They haven't fucking covered in damn near 2 weeks. They're 2-7-1 ATS last 10 versus the Raptors, and they're 0-8 the last 8 basketball games against the number on the road. Milwaukee still needs some time. Dame's still trying to get settled, as we could say. And the Raptors, man, they've won 3 of the last 4, 2-0 straight up last 2 meetings. As I mentioned, versus these boys, both 4-point dogs, one outright. 14-4 straight up, last 18 at the crib. They handle business in the North. So, I mean, I think they're live to win this basketball game. I have to go to the window with the Toronto Raptors. And I don't really care about Trent as much. I do want OG out there realistically from a defensive perspective more.
Wow.
And then what? He cut his hand in the motherfucking kitchen. All this money, these motherfuckers, bro. What are you doing in the kitchen? You got maids. You don't got a lady. You should have the second lady fucking cut the apple. I don't know what the fuck was happening, but god damn it, don't be fucking your shit up in the kitchen or however he did it. It's just amazing when these guys do that shit. I can't see it.
Plus, cut the apple. Plus 5.5 and minus 108 for Dutch. Moving on, the Raptors plus 5.5. Minus 108. We got BJ in the house. Antoine Taylor rolling with us. Court Dan Kelly rolling with us. Let's roll on to the next spot on the board. And we get Justin McElvey's stacks play of the day. It is the Orlando Magic. Magic on the road at the Chicago Bulls. Oh, man. I had to watch that Bulls-Suns game, and I still like... If I have to see DeRozan ISO with a minute and a half left, my heart goes out to Bulls fans because he's a good player. DeRozan looks good until there's a minute and a half left. And it was just DeRozan and Durant ISO ball. It was just as ugly basketball as you could imagine.
And if you got Levine, why does DeRozan have the ball?
And you know what's going to, like, oh, God, it's just, it was bad. It was bad. Magic have lost 3 of 4. They're on the second half of a back-to-back, losing by 20 last night at Brooklyn. Ugly game. They shot 43.9% from the field, 34.8% from 3, and they got out-rebounded by 7. They scored 18 points in the fourth quarter and 44 points in the second half. This has to be an angry Orlando Magic group here. Carter out, Fultz out as well. So Anthony Black at the 2 and Badadzi at the 5. Not exactly the lineup we were hoping for when we took the Magic at 10-1 to win the division. Let's take a look at the line history here. Still, even with that lineup, Orlando just a 1.5 dog. They opened up at 2.5 point dogs. They got down to they were a 1-point favorite this morning at 10:30 a.m. until there was buyback on the Bulls. So right now sitting at plus 1.5. Let's get over to the total here in this one. So we have a move towards the Magic on the second half of a back-to-back after an embarrassing loss last night. Let's get into the total here. This total is sitting at 216.5. It opened up at 216. It got up to 217 before there was buyback. Now 216.5. And let's go to the cash flow for this one. 29% of the tickets, 36% of the cash on the Magic. Public on the Bulls. Line moving towards the Magic. Interesting. Then you have 38% of the tickets and 71% of the cash on the under, a very low under. Dan Kelly says a long way to go. Still love Orlando to win that division. I'm excited. I enjoy having the bet very much. And VP says, did we figure out why the Washington line was taken down? No, I'll go back to that. Saturated says Vooch Rebenga. And Troy says, mark my words, Magic will dominate the boards. Take it away for us here, Dutch. Justin McElvey on the Magic line, moving towards the Magic, to the Magic bounce back from last night's debacle in Brooklyn.
Yeah, a lot of love for the Magic. I see our boy Troy Torrance is on the motherfucking Magic. Yeah, I don't like this basketball game, Jim. I believe DeMar DeRozan's out for the Bulls too. So I'll look for Zach LaVine to have a big game. I'll look for LaVine to have a big game. All this trade talk, his ass is, talking about they're talking about him maybe going to the Lakers. I mean, they said they're both open for him to move. I see him in the clutch hoodie the other night, or I guess, with the fucking agent, LBJ's boy. So I don't know, man. I don't know. I just think is the rumbling. I see Caruso's name getting through. The Bulls, I think, are about to blow up. I mean, I don't know what. They didn't make not one fucking move in the offseason. They're the same damn thing as last year. So, but I'm not high on the Magic like all these other cats are. So I'm not going to the window betting Orlando in a back-to-back situation in Chicago, even though everything points to the Magic being a better basketball team right now than the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, they got to be angry from that performance last night. Jews then want them for a full game. Suggs played 32 minutes, Wagner 36, Bancaro 35. So, the other Wagner is going to have to be key. Get Anthony, slow-mo Joe played 21, but you don't want his tired-ass old legs running around out there. He went 3 for 3 from 3 though last night. He's a nice piece for this team to get some, quality.
I feel like guys like that, like with all this young, with all this youth, but he's only getting slower.
Well, I hate getting cute, but you have to think that the Magic bounce back early. Don't you? After just laying an egg last night, they want to get back on the floor. Yeah, their legs might get tired in the second half, but it just feels like, and I don't want to double up. I haven't moved on anything yet, but I don't want first quarter and first half, but it just feels like a spot where they're going to be ready to go early. What is your feeling on Colby White at the 1? Is he a point guard that you believe in?
No. He's a role bench player. Like, he's a guy that you can come off and get hot. And I like Colby White coming out of UNC. Like, I fuck with the Tar Heels, but you're not gonna be winning at a consistent level with Colby White as your starting point guard. It's just not gonna happen. He's too streaky, first of all, as a shooter, and he's not a true point. He's more of a scoring point.
Troy Torrance saying Caruso likely out today. He does help defensively a great deal. But, I mean,
Orlando did. Okay, go ahead. My bad.
Which everything he does is ugly. Like, everything he does is ugly. He hit the 3 in overtime against the Suns, and it was a bank job. And, he winked and laughed, and I was like, is this really what I'm watching?
I know. It's so sick. They did outscore them. Brooklyn obviously outscored Orlando by 9 in that first quarter. They outscored them by 12 in the second quarter. Orlando did. So maybe the first half, if you don't want to double down, maybe the first half is better than full first quarter. But in that perspective, I'm not mad at the look though. But I don't like full game really. I really don't.
Well, I tell you what, if you guys see me tweet it out that I've bet first quarter, first half, I'll likely not do a full unit on first quarter and first half.
Split it up.
I don't know if I do I don't like to do a full 50, like cut it into 50%. Like, I still do more than a half unit, but I just don't want to. We'll see what other action comes out on the board, but the 2 units early in the year for me is scaring me. Saturated saying no Wendell Carter. I still think that this Bulls team is just ugly to watch, just ugly here. And if there's no Caruso and no D-Row. All right, and Troy says DeRozan's the one who does the damage versus this Magic team. Okay, well, I'm definitely moving on either the first quarter or the first half. I may move on both, and if I do, it won't be a full unit on each. Let's move on. Next up, we head to Footprint Center in Phoenix, Arizona for Timberwolves, Suns, and Gordon is a game time decision. That's the only real issue here, but he doesn't look very good to start the year. He looks old out there. The Timberwolves are rolling 8-2 right now, winning close games, winning on the road, winning back-to-back in Golden State. This team is feeling themselves here. They are in the midst of a 7-game winning streak. They opened up that season not even scoring 100 points here against the Raps, but they're rolling now. Towns put up 33. Gobert put up 13 in that 101 win last night in Golden State. So here we go. This is the 3rd game in 5 nights. They play and beat Golden State twice over 3 nights. This feels like a tricky spot, but watching the Suns, without Booker was so ugly. I can't tell you how ugly everything looked. Now, Bradley Beal helped, but Booker is back, and that will help. Let's take a look. And this is a Suns team that's lost 2 straight games as well. Let's take a look at getting in live on the Lakers was one of the easiest live bets that I had the chance to make. It just was so easy backing them. It got plus 6.5 at plus what was it? Plus 105. It was plus money for sure. And there was better opportunities. You could have got 8.5, could have got 9.5. I was trying to find the right spot to do it. But let's take a look at the line history. First off, this total sitting at 225, opened up at 226.5, now at 225. And let's go to the spread here for this one. This spread is sitting with the Suns -6. They open up -5.5, a half-point move towards the Phoenix Suns. We go over to the cash flow in this one. You have 44% of tickets and 34% of cash on the Phoenix Suns. 75% of the tickets, 74% cash on the over. Only 36% of the cash is on the Suns, and this market's moved a half point towards them. I think this is a telling line. I think that it's now an important game for the Phoenix Suns. And Troy Torrance says Phoenix laying 6. I don't know, man. This Wolves team is legit. I was a year too early thinking they would ball last year. Yes, I made that mistake as well. And BJ says all over the Suns, Jim, best bet on the board. And, I agree. I think this is a big spread for a reason. Are we going to ask the Timberwolves to go out and just be the best team in the league right now? Beat the Warriors back-to-back, play their third game in 4 nights against the Suns team that's coming off 2 losses? I agree. Take it away, Dutch. What are your thoughts here, Wolves Suns?
Yeah, man, I'm right with you. Shout out to BJ. Shout out to Troy with the Ant-Man plus 3,000 on the MVP down to 1,800. Yeah, he's right, man. I like Ant-Man. He's nice. If they win, they continue to win like they do, that maybe, but they ain't winning tonight. BJ said schedule loss. Definitely schedule spot for me with the Suns. Absolutely, definitely like the Suns here. Get smacked around at the crib by OKC, double-digit loss. A tough loss against the Lakers at the crib. So they've lost 2 straight at home. Lost 4 in a row at the house this year. So the Phoenix Suns are ready to see Devin Booker come back. Bradley Beal will be a go. So you got Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and KD, all 3 ready to rock and roll. Nurkic has been playing pretty big down low. Hopefully they get, I think the role players will do what they need to do, but this is a tired basketball team. Minnesota took all they had last night. I mean, you got 41 minutes from Anthony Towns, 35 plus from the rest of these boys with the Ant-Man and Gobert. They took all they had to beat the B squad of the Warriors last night. The little tussle they had early. And they played them 2 out of the last 3, as Jim mentioned. So it was a tough situation for the Wolves. They got out with 2 wins, and I believe they're going to be gassed tonight, going up against a team who really just needs to get right and are going to have their boys back. I mean, Devin Booker was playing out of his mind before he's out. I mean, so look for him just to light them the fuck up. They did have 2 days off, have won 5 of the last 6 meetings versus the Timberwolves, 4 straight in Phoenix. And the Wolves, say what you will about them. They are 1-4 ATS on the road. They're 0-6 ATS last 6 meetings versus the Suns, and 1-4 against the number last 5 in Phoenix. This Chang Kim, I believe I might have fucked that name up, asked me what was the best look on the board today. I agree with BJ here. I thought the Mavericks were. I bet them, tweeted them out last night, but I got on the 5.5. With the Suns as well. I really like the Suns here tonight, Jim.
And Cat played 42 minutes last night.
Yeah, he played a lot, bro. That was a fucking down the wire. They're down 7 going into the 4th quarter. Outscored the Warriors by 10 to win that game by 3. The line closed at 3. It was a sweater, anyone who was on Minnesota's side for sure.
Yeah,
Any side, realistically, I guess, right?
Dutch is on the Suns. Let's line chop for him. I just don't think this is a regular situation here, DG. It's not that I don't think the Timberwolves can hang with the Suns. It's just this does not. This is just extremely difficult spot. That's all.
The Suns are pissed off, man. They hate the Lakers. The Lakers came back and beat them after the Suns had them down the whole fucking game. LBJ was dancing on these motherfuckers, D'Angelo Russell and shit. Then they come around and just had the hangover game against OKC, lose by 12 at the crib. And now they got their guns back, and they had 2 days to sit off and think about those losses. Big game here for Phoenix tonight.
Yeah, the 5.5s are expensive, so it's got to be a 6, -6, -109, -6, 108, -6, 109. So that's fine.
They win this game by double digits. The Wolves could hang around early, I'm not mad at that, but these boys are going to get tired, and the Suns are going to be playing to win this basketball game.
Yeah, I like the spot here. Like the spot. Danko said had T-Wolves money line live last night when Draymond and Clay got ejected. I sweated that one. Andrew G says Wolves might steal this. They're hard to figure out. This is just such. If they can do this, it'd be extremely, extremely impressive, and I don't mind betting against it. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. Sacramento Kings 5-4, 1-3 on the road at the LA Lakers. Just 6-5 on the year, but 5-0 at crypto. Coming off the win last night versus Memphis, they dominated Memphis after an underwhelming victory at home against Portland on Sunday. So this is the third game in 4 nights for them. Kings have been off since the 132-120 win at home versus the Cavaliers on Monday. So a big rest advantage here for these Sacramento Kings. De'Aaron Fox, Herter, Barnes, Murray, Sabonis, the 5. So, they're in business here. Gabe Vincent still out for the Lakers. Let's go into the cash flow then for this one and the line history. Did I mess this up? Here we go. Line history wise, these Lakers are sitting here at -1.5. Obviously, the rest advantage for the Kings taking an effect here with the market. They open up at -1. They're now -1.5. From a total scenario, we have this at 235. It opened up at 233.5. We've gone up 1.5. And then when we get to the cash flow, what the hell did I thought I had it up here? Maybe right here. Sorry. To get to the cash flow, we have 80% of the tickets, 80% of the cash on the Kings. I mean, the line's not moving towards the Kings. And then you have 68% of the tickets on the under, but just 30% of the cash. So bigger bets coming in on the over, and the lines move towards the over. Take it away for us here, Dutch. Kings, Lakers in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, man. Shout out to our guy Andrew G. He says the Lakers got to be tired. Yeah, man. I don't know if they're really that tired. They've been at the crib, and they've been at the crib since the 10th. And the LBJ, these starters didn't play. No one played more than 26 minutes last night. Was looking towards Memphis. I was like, how the fuck are they laying 7? Glad I didn't get to the window with that. But yeah, I just think, I don't know. This line's fishy to me, Jim. I want to go to the Kings. They got De'Aaron Fox back. They've won 3 straight. Looked good against OKC, and then looked even better against the Cavaliers with De'Aaron Fox back. 5-1 against the number of the last 6 meetings versus these boys, and straight up. So they have their way with the Lakers. They've covered 6 of the last 7 in LA, and they won the last 2 meetings outright versus the Lakers. So I'm just, the line don't make sense to me. I already got, as I mentioned, 4 bets on the board. This one I wanted to dig into a little bit more. It's a later game. But there's no way I'm betting the LA Lakers. I'll tell you that right now. I'm not betting the Lakers here. I like this look here by our boy LJ with the over 26.5 points. He looks like he's, he didn't look like he missed a beat coming back, which is good to see because I'm a big De'Aaron Fox fan. And this Sacramento team is a completely different team with De'Aaron Fox. So in a back-to-back situation, I wish the Lakers had more of a competitive game last night. I wish we would see, 35, 36 minutes, not 25, 26 for AD and LeBron. So I don't think they'll be too tired. But obviously it still is a back-to-back. But I don't know. I lean Kings here. I might get to the window with it. It just doesn't seem, something seems off. Just like yesterday with the Mavericks. Glad stayed off of that. There's something seems off about this line, but it's Sacramento or nothing for me here, Jim.
I think if you're going to fade a team on Sunday night back-to-back, you want them to work harder. But you also do want to fade a team that comes off shooting 62.9% from 3, 58% from the field. Like they're going to be able to do that again 24 hours later.
Yeah, they've been shooting under 30% from 3. So, it's got to come back somewhat to that.
Like, I like the way LBJ's inspired Cam Reddish, but I find this just feels like now, I guess the only issue at this point is you have 80% of the tickets and 80% of the cash on the Kings. So everybody thinking the same way. Should that be concerning enough to stay off of this spot? I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this should be probably a bet. I just don't like having too many bets. It's like I bet 4 out of the 8. I'm at 5 out of the 8 basketball games action on. So that's what kept me off. And the line is just like as you mentioned. It's like I feel like this. Who's not betting Sacramento here? And I don't know. Maybe I like to see it come down to a pick 'em. To be quite honest with you, make me feel a little more comfortable.
Wow. All right. That is a wildly fascinating spot here. I
Because it's
just
the
wish
NBA and it's the Lakers, so you got to pay attention to this shit a little bit with the Lakers, you know.
I just wish there was people on the Lakers. And I don't mean 1 out of every 5 people, you know.
Yeah,
Okay. I mean,
very questionable. That might be why the line was off. The board was off.
yeah,
I
it's
said,
back though. It's back. It's back at 5.5.
okay,
So you got the 5. It's back at 5.5. So that's all moved fine there for you. Let's move on to the next spot on the board. The final spot on the board: Cleveland Cavaliers to Portland Trailblazers. The Blazers are. I mean, if you thought their lineup was ugly before, but Brogdon is a game time decision. He will help immensely. But Scoot Simon's out, so it's Skylar Mays, Jaden Sharp 1, 2, and then Kamara at the 3. Ooh, a Garland out for the Cavs. So Mitchell, Spider playing at the 1, Levert at the 2, Strus at the 3, Mobley and Allen 4, 5. We have Portland right now as 10.5-point dogs. They opened up at 10.5, so they're right where they opened. There was a 10 there for a little while, but back at 10.5. And when we take a look at that cash flow on the spread here, you have 67% of the tickets on the Blazers and just 59% of the cash. Dan Kelly says this has got to be first half Cavs. Huh. And Troy says Magic are clearly the best spot on the board. Dan Clay says he will be on De'Aaron Fox over points prop. He would have had 50 in the game he got injured. Has been very hot lately. So let's take a look at the total then. So we have a 10.5 on the spread. And from a total perspective, we're sitting here at 219. Oh, no, that's not Pinnacle. It's Bovada. Sorry. 219.5 at Pinnacle. It opened up at 221. So we've dropped, point and a half there. And then on the total, on the total, 56% of tickets and 98% of cash on the under. BJ wants nothing to do with this game, calling it a backwoods here for Cavs Blazers. Let's just do a little bit of due diligence before we put a bow on today's show. The Cavs coming off that 132-120 loss that we spoke about on Monday at Sacramento. They've been on a 3-game road trip. They've only won the 1 game on it at the Warriors here. And the Blazers were on a 3-game road trip that didn't, they looked good against Sacramento and the Lakers and then lost by 16 in altitude against Utah. Take it away for us here. We have the Cavs on the road in Portland, and this is the final game for the Cavs. This is an important game for the Cavs. You want to come home 2-2 off the road trip. You don't want to lose to a minnow in the Blazers. Take it away, Dutch.
Yeah, man, I'm with BJ. This is a backwood for me, but I like where LJ is looking and what the chat was talking about a little bit. He says he likes the Cavs first quarter here. Portland's the worst team ATS in first quarters. I would break it down first quarter, first half. I do think this is a Cleveland get right spot here after losing. That really wasn't in the game against Sacramento, and now against the depleted Portland team. Obviously, you'd like to have Garland out there, especially in a number like this, but I do think there's still another level than the Portland Trailblazers. But the Cavaliers have only covered a number this big one time this year, all year. So if I had to bet this game full game, I'd honestly take the 10.5. I don't think they should be this many points on the road, but I could see where you could expect Cleveland to come out hot and be up, 5 at the end of 1.
Yeah, and I don't even mind the 6 at halftime.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, this is an important spot for the Cavs. This is a pretty easy coaching situation here. You're 1-2 on the road trip. You can't go home 1-3. You have to be ready to go early. Even though this is a weakling, you have to be ready to go immediately. I like it. I like this idea of backing them early in this spot. How bad exactly was that loss to Sacramento? I mean, they played no defense.
They lost by 12, I think.
Yeah, lost by 12.
But this wasn't like, they're down 8 at the end of 1.
Yeah, they looked bad at the end of 1. I think that should have them ready early.
And they came out 13 down 13 in the third. They got out 13 in the third.
They let Sacramento shoot 59% from the field. Dan Kelly thought they were going to tie it up late. I like the idea that the Cavs are going to be ready to go early. I really do, to finish off a road trip. Be focused. How many people are going to Blazers games right now? Is anybody?
It's just for the low, huh?
Is it going to be
take a trip to P-Town? Hit the club, hit the strip club, and hit the motherfucking game for under $100.
Yeah, man, that last home game. Oh, they had 94% full. So people are still going.
There ain't nothing else to do really down there, so they should be fucking kind of go for the Blazer game. Shit.
Yeah, I like this. I'm interested in the Cavs early. I would like not to double dip, but so at this point here, it'd be the Magic first quarter, first half, the Blazers first quarter, first half, and the Suns full game. If I bet the Magic first quarter and first half, they won't be full units. They won't be half. They'll be higher than half, maybe about 3/4 unit. And I might not. I might just do a full unit on and pick my spot, whether it be first quarter or first half. And I will take the Suns full game. Want the 6. I feel like even if they're not comfortably ahead all game, I mean, you can still get to that 6 late. If you take control late. We have the Trill OG play today. It's Luka over 46.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Alec Dirks is on Luka 45 plus points, rebounds, assists, and the Mavs money line, same game parlay at plus 110. Dutch is on the Mavs -5 at -105. The Knicks money line at -105. The Raptors plus 5.5 at -108. He's on the Suns -6 at -109. BJ says, salute to you and Dutch. I'm out of here. Suns and Knicks are the best looks on the board. Dutch on both of those here. There you go. And Wrist Ain't Breezy says the Teal Blazers cover that 10. So we will see. Dutch, it was great to not have a ridiculously big card, but we have our work cut out for us every Wednesday, and you are the right man for the job. Thank you for rocking with us here. Please follow Dutch at Dutch Boy Fresh on X, but most importantly, Medicate Mondays, every Monday here at 11 a.m. The squad's running hot, and it's a great show. It mixes mediums, and it's money in the bank. Dutch, my man, thank you for rolling with us. Do you have any last words here for the Capper Sport in the show?
I appreciate you, Jim. Appreciate all the real ones in the chat. Hit the like button. Subscribe to Pub Sports Radio. If you're not, show some motherfucking love. Appreciate y'all as always. Y'all stay fresh.
There he is, Dutch Boy Fresh. Let's review all action. That puts a bow on our show. I am on the Oilers -1, and I'm very interested in going up against the trends in the total for the Islanders Canucks game. And of course, Pavone messaged me during the show. He's going to be on the Islanders. I mean, that's just like a perfect spot for him with that line as low as it is. Let's take a look at what Pinnacle has done with that NHL total. Is that still under 6.5? Because I'll bet it there. 6.5 -118. So it's actually moved 1 cent. It was -117 when we were talking about it. It's now -118. I'm going to bet that at Penny. I'm going to be on the under 6.5 in Islanders Canucks. And it's risky. It's always risky, in a Canucks game to take an under. But this one, it just feels like the Islanders are going to be playing to their absolute best. And Sorokin has to prove that he's capable here. It'll be a good sweat for late night action. In MACtion today, we have Dave Rogers on the Red Hawks -7.5, -103. If he wasn't, I'd be on the Bulls. I think that market move is telling, but I won't go up against him. And I'm not on the Chips Bobcats spot either. The move to the over surprises me. And the fact that it's moved towards the Bobcats to 10.5 from 8.5 also surprises me. I'm not going to get in the way of that. And one of the fun things that I couldn't do last year, or that I wasn't doing, was that I would force myself to get in on the midweek MACtion because I was leaving the weekend alone. Not anymore. We have best bets hammering each week, and we had our best bets today. Dave Rogers on the over 44.5 in Utes Wildcats, Iowa -3 -113. I'm on Utah State +3 and the Oregon State Beavers -2. And then in college basketball, that one dude gave us the East Carolina Pirates, a huge bet for him, 8 units on the East Carolina Pirates, going all out there. Ronnie and Bergie is on Richmond +5, Canisius +7.5, Pacific +13, St. Peter's -1.5, and Radford +5.5. Perky took the alt line on Princeton. They're +6. He took a -4. What a monster capper Perky is. Big Scott's on Richmond +5, and he's also on the Knicks money line. Dave Rogers gave us Richmond +5, the under 140 in St. Peter's, Peacocks, Fairleigh Dickinson, and the under 133.5 in Georgetown Rutgers. I will not be moving on college basketball here today. And that is our show. That is our show. So we have a huge day tomorrow. Jose and I will be hosting the Cappers Contest show. We're now 28, 20, and 2. Hopefully we'll be announcing tonight, about the poker tournament. I'm just waiting for the confirmation. There's our 28, 20, and 2, 3 straight winning weeks. That's exciting. We are 11-4 over the last 3 weeks, and it just makes the show really something that we look forward to and that is important and helpful. So please join us there. And thank you guys for supporting the show. We truly have nothing without you guys. Rants, Juan Ruiz, Dan Kelly, Wrist Ain't Breezy, Londo, Saturated, LJ from H-Town, Eddie Euler, also on the Red Hawks -7, North Ender. Thank you guys. BJ, Von Polo, Kong's Clips, Wrist Ain't Breezy, Jeffrey Moore. Thank you guys. Truly, truly thank you for the support. Ricky Bobby, all of you. Troy Torrance, Nasty Nate, Steven Dussett, Millsy, Kelly McInnes. Thank you guys. Sky Dragon, The Chillest, Robert Franklin. Let's go out there. Chosen One. Let's go out there and get that Poppy. Big thank you to our producer and my co-host for the Cappers Contest, Jose Bouquet, for all of the hard work he does. He was up so late last night cutting up the NFL videos, and he's always ready to rock here. Thank you, Dan Kelly, my friend. Thank you, Robert Franklin. Yes, Leche, you hammer it perfectly. Leche. Let's go out there and work together to milk these bookies. The work is being done. Now we got to press some buttons and then enjoy the roller coaster ride of our action. Leche! Hey, Los bookmakers, milk that shit.